subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Early the next morning, Bai Ye first retrieved the 11 kunai he had left in various cities. Then he brought Saitama to the rooftop of their building, using it as a starting point. Saitama could be seen dressed in his battle suit, a yellow superhero costume plus a white cape. Although it might look a bit plain, it was specially made by a certain tailor who supported Saitama's grand ideals. So it held deep meaning for Saitama, becoming his unchanging battle attire for years. The starting point is here, so where's the finish line? Saitama asked. The finish line will be in City P, specifically on the rooftop of the Hashirama Hotel. Bai Ye replied. Okay. Saitama immediately began to stretch, doing some simple morning exercises that elementary school students often did. A moment later, Saitama, with a blank expression, said, I'm ready. We can go. 3, 2, 1. Bai Ye counted down. As the countdown ended, Bai Ye and Saitama simultaneously shot forward. Bai Ye at least used the body flicker technique, while Saitama purely relied on his physical strength to achieve incredible feats. In a classic superhero flying pose, which looked like flying but was actually Saitama's jumping ability, he could reach the speed of light with just a slightly serious jump. Saitama instantly left Bai Ye far behind. Bai Ye could actually instantly surpass Saitama by using the Flying Thunder God mark he had left in City P, but doing so would be meaningless. He didn't have such an extreme desire to win. He was here to practice Flying Thunder God and body flicker technique, not for anything else, and losing to Saitama-sensei was not shameful at all. Even though Saitama was far ahead, Bai Ye was not in a hurry and continued to practice at his own pace. Just like yesterday, he left 1 or 2 kunai in each city he passed through, focusing on hitting the targets precisely. This time, Bai Ye was much more skilled than yesterday. When he reached the last city, City P, he still had energy left, unlike yesterday when he was almost exhausted. Of course, this wasn't due to a sudden increase in his physical and mental strength, but rather that his techniques, action sequences, and traversing various terrains have become smoother, naturally reducing the overall consumption. However, when Bai Ye arrived at his destination, the rooftop of the Hashirama Hotel, he didn't see Saitama. Saitama-sensei wasn't here yet? That's impossible, right? Aside from the very beginning, Bai Ye hadn't seen Saitama at all during the entire journey. Logically, Saitama-sensei should have been waiting for him at the finish line already. Or did Saitama-sensei get impatient and go back? Ding. Host has defeated Saitama in the speed competition, gaining reward 100 points. Hearing this system prompt, Bai Ye was stunned. How did he win so inexplicably? Where was Saitama-sensei? Meanwhile, Saitama, who had been jumping between several cities, could only say, I don't know. As mentioned before, Saitama-sensei had no sense of direction. Originally, Bai Ye set the finish line in City P, but Saitama accidentally used a little too much force and jumped directly from City Z to the farthest City A. So he didn't know which direction the finish line was in anymore. This is bad. I seem to have lost my way, and I don't even know how to get back. At this moment, Saitama had already jumped from City A to another city, but he didn't know where this was, and awkwardly scratched his head. On the other side, Bai Ye quickly realized that the only possibility for Saitama-sensei to lose to him was that he got lost. He almost forgot that Saitama-sensei had the no sense of direction trait. But now he didn't know where to find Saitama. He should have marked Saitama with a Flying Thunder God formula. Now he could only call Saitama. Saitama was fretting over what to do when his phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out, saw his Bai Ye calling, and immediately answered. Saitama said somewhat sheepishly, Bai Ye, I think I'm lost. Post views, 3-1 Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 020, I already guessed it. Byakuya was speechless. Have you reached the finish line? Or should I just take the subway back? Saitama asked. If he continued to fly, he probably wouldn't find his way home tomorrow. So, he planned to land directly and take the subway. Although taking the subway cost money, he had no choice but to do so to get home. Fortunately, subway tickets were relatively cheap. No need for such trouble. Describe any distinctive buildings beneath your feet, and I'll come find you. Bai Ye considered Saitama's tight budget, so he wanted to save Saitama the subway fare. Okay, thank you so much. Saitama immediately looked down. Let me see. There's a very tall tower nearby, and a large river next to it. I think I've seen this tower before, but I forgot what it's called. Saitama described concisely. I know where that is. I'll be right there. With that, Byakuya hung up the phone. And almost at the same instant he hung up, Byakuya appeared in front of Saitama. Whoa, that was fast, Saitama exclaimed, looking at Byakuya, who had suddenly appeared before him. Byakuya had actually teleported directly using the Flying Thunder God technique, because the tall tower Saitama mentioned was the one he had marked yesterday. After all, it was a space-time ninjutsu, so the speed was naturally astonishing. Do you want to check out the finish line? Or go straight home? Byakuya asked. Let's go check out the finish line first. Otherwise, it feels like something's missing. Saitama replied. Byakuya didn't use the Flying Thunder God technique this time, but instead moved at high speed using the body flicker technique. Saitama flew leisurely behind him, not daring to fly too fast this time, or he would get lost again. Soon, Byakuya and Saitama arrived at the finish line together, standing on the rooftop of the Hoshinokai Grand Hotel. Looking into the distance, one could see a beautiful landscape like a traditional Chinese painting. You reached the finish line before me. You win. At this moment, Saitama spoke calmly. He didn't care much about winning or losing and calmly admitted his defeat. It wasn't that he, who had always been invincible in the world, was bored and lonely, and finally losing once gave him a different, fresh feeling. That doesn't count. Mr. Saitama just got lost. He didn't lose. Saitama was willing to admit defeat, but Byakuya refused to admit victory. A victory without honor was meaningless to him. Of course, if the system were to reclaim the 100 points it awarded him, then he would behave himself. A loss is a loss. There's nothing to dwell on, Saitama said indifferently. Before Byakuya could argue, Saitama spoke again. You're really strong, after all. Why are you only a B-class hero? Are other A-class and S-class heroes stronger than you? He had no concept of the Hero Association's overall combat strength. In his eyes, Byakuya's strength was already very impressive, which was why he was puzzled as to why Byakuya was only on the B-class roster. Perhaps, Byakuya said casually, there are quite a few powerful individuals in the Hero Association, but there shouldn't be anyone stronger than you. He couldn't speak to Saitama from a god's perspective. Otherwise, he could directly tell Saitama, with a definite tone, that no one was stronger than Saitama. Is that so? Then I'll see how strong they are when the time comes. Saitama showed no sign of arrogance or complacency and looked forward to finding an opponent in the Hero Association who could make him serious. Of course, he wouldn't actively seek trouble. He was always very laid back. If there was a powerful opponent, that was best. If not, it didn't matter. Staying home to read manga and watch TV was also very comfortable. We should head back now, shouldn't we? If so, let's compete one more time. I haven't had enough fun yet. Just then, Saitama suddenly switched to his serious art style. Gulp! Byakuya's heart sank slightly. Teacher Saitama was going to push him hard. The previous round of training had left him with only 1/3 of his strength. But it was also good. Breaking through limits was an extreme but very effective training method. Okay, let's start. Byakuya nodded fearlessly. Byakuya and Saitama immediately shot off in the direction they came from. During the process, Byakuya didn't slack off at all, still moving at high speed along the same route. Only this time, throwing shuriken was replaced with retrieving shuriken. With only 1/3 of his condition left, his body gradually approached its limit later on. Even drenched in sweat and utterly exhausted, he gritted his teeth and persevered, determined to complete the entire course. He didn't know how long this pain of his body reaching its limit lasted, but suddenly, Byakuya seemed to have a burst of energy, and his body instantly felt much lighter. Ding! Host has broken through physical limits, receiving rewards. Constitution +35, Hashirama Cells +2. Constitution, 110 Hashirama Cells. For Byakuya immediately understood why he suddenly felt so light. Next, Byakuya successfully completed the entire course and returned to his own rooftop. However, this time he didn't see teacher Saitama's figure again. Could it be he got lost again? Just then, Byakuya's phone rang. Seeing Saitama's name on the caller ID, it basically confirmed Byakuya's guess. Hello. Sorry, Byakuya. I think I'm lost again. At this moment, Saitama didn't know where he had flown to and could only call Byakuya for help. I'll come find you now. Same as before, tell me what buildings are around. Byakuya no longer felt surprised by this. The directionally challenged teacher Saitama, and he were two extremes. With his Mangekyō Sharingan, he could remember everything at a glance. Every place he passed through was firmly etched in his mind. So, as long as Saitama casually mentioned a distinctive building, he could recall its exact location. The old scene replayed, and Byakuya brought Saitama back to his own rooftop. Since Saitama got lost again, Byakuya won this time. However, the system didn't give him another reward, possibly because the speed competition with Saitama was a one-time achievement, just like he only received a reward the first time he went to the Hero Association. If there weren't this restriction, he could drag Saitama to exploit bugs and farm points every day, since Saitama was directionally challenged and basically couldn't beat him. Mr. Saitama, I'm going to leave a mark on you. You don't mind, do you? This way I can find you anytime. At this moment, Byakuya wanted to mark Saitama with a flying Thunder God seal, but he asked for Saitama's opinion first. Okay. Saitama agreed without thinking twice. He didn't worry at all that Byakuya might use this mark to harm him. Seeing Saitama agree so readily, Byakuya was slightly surprised, but thinking about it, it was normal. After all, teacher Saitama was invincible. Byakuya's hand then rested on Saitama's back, marking a flying Thunder God formula on his back. The Kamui pattern instantly appeared, unnoticed through the clothes. That's done. Next time you get lost, just call me. Post views. 3-1 Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 021. That's pretty amazing. I'll trouble you if I need anything in the future. Saitama scratched his back with his hand, not feeling anything special. All right, I'm going to take a shower first. Do you have any other plans today? Byakuya nodded. Nope. If there are no monsters, I just want to lie down and read manga or play games. Speaking of which, Saitama suddenly thought of something. Oh, Byakuya, are you interested in games? Yeah, I played a lot of games before. Byakuya replied. Perfect, then I'll bring the games to your place later. Saitama immediately invited. As for Saitama himself, he hadn't even broken a sweat, so he naturally didn't need to shower in the middle of the day. Byakuya, on the other hand, was already drenched in sweat. Breaking his limits had exhausted him quite a bit. Okay, Byakuya agreed. Playing games with Saitama-sensei might seem like a waste of time to him, but in reality, he wanted to see if defeating Saitama-sensei in a game would grant him a reward. If he could get a reward, then it definitely wouldn't be a waste of time. Even if he couldn't, it was still fine, because he also wanted to play the games of this world. It was actually quite similar to Japan and the world he was in before he transmigrated, where physical game discs and handheld consoles were still prevalent. Even though I got lost twice, I had a lot of fun today. Saitama sighed as they walked down the stairs from the rooftop. Glad you had fun, Byakuya echoed, a slight hint of helplessness in his smile. Had a lot of fun. Byakuya couldn't help but sigh in his heart. His full effort was just a casual game in front of Saitama-sensei. However, precisely because it was Saitama-sensei, he didn't feel any frustration or discouragement. After showering, Byakuya walked out of the bathroom to find that Saitama had already set up the game on the TV and was waiting for him. Those physical discs usually use the TV screen as a display. You're done showering. Come on, let's play. Saitama patted the cushion next to him. He had brought both cushions. Okay, I'll dry my hair first. After Byakuya dried his hair, he sat next to Saitama and picked up the game controller. This is a fighting game I've always loved playing. Do you need me to teach you? Saitama became slightly excited. He had been practicing against the AI in the game for so long. And now he could finally have a PvP match against a real person. No need, I know a thing or two about these kinds of games. Bai Ye shook his head slightly. He could tell from the game interface that it was similar to King of Fighters or Street Fighter from his previous life. Even though he had only played such classic games when he was very young, the impression was still very deep. Initially, Bai Ye didn't turn off his Mangekyō Sharingan. The result was he utterly crushed Saitama in the game because he was still clear about the basic operations of this type of game. And his Mangekyō Sharingan's abilities could also come in handy when playing games. He completely dominated Saitama in the very first round. Ding! Host has defeated Saitama in a game, gaining a reward, 10 points. The points given by the system this time were much fewer, indicating that the system knew that the difficulty of defeating Saitama in a game was not high, so it appropriately lowered the reward. Saitama's mouth twitched slightly. He hadn't expected to be utterly crushed by Bai Ye in the very first game. Just now, he had wanted to teach Bai Ye how to play this game, but Bai Ye had turned around and beaten him soundly. If you told Saitama his strength was weak, he would just smile calmly, but if you said his gaming skills were bad, he might actually get angry with you. So your gaming skills are this good? Huh? Then I'll have to get serious too. Saitama immediately adopted a serious art style, as if to show Bai Ye his serious gaming skills. Bai Ye also realized he had gone a bit overboard. He quietly turned off his Mangekyō Sharingan, only using his 3-Tomo Sharingan to play games with Saitama. However, a moment later, K.O. Saitama was defeated by Bai Ye again, but at least it wasn't as ugly as the previous loss. Because this time, Bai Ye not only turned off his Mangekyō Sharingan, but also went easy on him. Again, Saitama was still unconvinced. Bai Ye silently turned off even his 3-Tomo Sharingan, returning to normal black eyes. Unknowingly, 10 games passed just like that. Saitama-sensei lost all 10 games. Bai Ye had tried his best to go easy, but he couldn't make it too obvious. Even when he went easy, he still won. Because Saitama's gaming skills remained the same, while Bai Ye, as a new player, was getting more skilled and improving with each game. Moreover, the insight and learning ability brought by his Mangekyō Sharingan. Even when he turned off his Sharingan, these abilities didn't completely disappear. His abilities were still far beyond those of ordinary people. The gap in their gaming skills grew wider and wider, making it difficult for him to even lose a game, as he couldn't intentionally lose too obviously. If Saitama-sensei noticed, he definitely wouldn't be happy. After 10 consecutive losses, Saitama's expression gradually became irritable. But he had his own bottom line as a person. No matter how much he was abused in games, he would never resort to violence against his opponent out of anger. He would only get angry by himself or vent his anger on monsters. I'm starting to get a bit tired, but Saitama-san is still very energetic. How about we stop here for today? Seeing this, Bai Ye spoke up. Oh, really? Then let's play again next time when we have time. Saitama nodded without a hint of suspicion. He transformed from an irritable bald egg into a simple-styled nut wall. I didn't expect to meet such a strong opponent today. I'll go back and practice hard now. I'll definitely be able to beat you in a few days. Saitama was instantly full of fighting spirit. Bai Ye could only respond with a smile. Afterward, Saitama took the game disc and controller and left. But when he reached the door, he suddenly stopped. Oh no, I almost forgot that my TV at home is broken. Well, there's no helping it then. Bai Ye, can I borrow your TV? Of course, no problem. I don't watch much TV, so you can use it however you like. Bai Ye nodded. Great, I'll start practicing right away. Saitama sat back down in front of the TV. Just as Saitama was halfway through playing his game, a news flash suddenly appeared at the top of the TV screen. It showed that City A had suddenly suffered widespread explosions, suspected to be a demon level or even dragon level disaster. Seeing that City A was severely attacked, Bai Ye immediately realized that this couldn't be the dragon level vaccine man appearing, could it? One Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 022. Another weirdo has appeared. Time to enact justice. Saitama immediately put down his game controller and paused the game. However, just as he was about to change into his hero suit and depart, he noticed that Bai Ye, who had been by his side, was gone. He runs that fast? He must have gone to the monster's location. I should hurry too. Saitama muttered to himself, changed into his battle suit, and immediately rushed to a city. This time, Saitama didn't get lost. However, Bai Ye had arrived at a city earlier. After all, as soon as he saw the news and judged that it was most likely the dragon-level monster, Vaccine Man, he immediately teleported there via his Kamui dimension. He hadn't left a flying thunder god mark in a city yet, but Kamui teleportation was instantaneous. Ding! Host has redeemed Physique 108, deducting points 108. Current remaining points 50. Ding! Host has redeemed Hashirama Cells 5, deducting points 50. Current remaining points 0. Physique plus 108. Hashirama Cells plus 5. Physique 218. Hashirama Cells 9. The moment he teleported to a city, Bai Ye quickly allocated all his points to Physique and Hashirama Cells. Facing a dragon-level monster this time, he wouldn't be careless in the slightest. Boom! Just then, Bai Ye heard a deafening explosion in the distance. The explosion's huge range instantly reached him. Bai Ye's Mangekyō Sharingan activated abruptly, directly ignoring the explosion's power with his Kamui intangibility. In contrast, a large area of houses around him were destroyed, turning into ruins in the blink of an eye. Not only that, Bai Ye also saw several giant light orbs flying in different directions in the air. This was the ability of the dragon-level monster, Vaccine Man, suspected to be an ability granted by God similar to Homeless Emperor. Bai Ye immediately moved to stop those light orbs. He simultaneously opened 3 spatial portals, intercepting the 3 light orbs in the air. Not only were they intercepted, they were all transferred into the Kamui dimension via the portals. Seeing that the expected explosion did not occur, Vaccine Man was instantly astonished. Unconvinced, it floated into the air and fired multiple light orbs again, throwing them in all directions. However, they were all intercepted by Bai Ye again with the transferability of Dual Kamui. Fortunately, Dual Kamui could open multiple spatial portals simultaneously, which came in handy at this moment. What is that? Vaccine Man was greatly shocked. Bai Ye had already spotted Vaccine Man. It was that muscular, piccolo-like creature floating in the air in the distance. He instantly teleported in front of Vaccine Man and threw all his kunai, each marked with a flying Thunder God seal. As a dragon-level monster, Vaccine Man's reaction speed was top tier. It tilted its head sideways, dodging the kunai that were aimed directly at its face. "Who are you?" Vaccine Man didn't rush to attack, asking unhurriedly. However, Bai Ye wouldn't waste words with Vaccine Man at this moment. As the kunai flew past Vaccine Man's ear and just entered its blind spot, Bai Ye immediately made his move. Flying Thunder God Slash. Red Knight blade appeared out of thin air in Bai Ye's hand. His body moved at an ultra-high speed, invisible to the naked eye, striking Vaccine Man. The incident happened so suddenly. Facing the first sight kill of the Flying Thunder God technique, even the dragon-level Vaccine Man couldn't react. It hadn't realized what was happening when Bai Ye had already passed through its body and retrieved the kunai into his hand. Cough! Vaccine Man suddenly spat out blood. Only then did it realize that it had been injured. Just an ordinary new hero. At this moment, Bai Ye responded indifferently. Vaccine Man quickly turned around, and its body underwent a drastic change, rapidly expanding in size. It mutated into a monster at least dozens, if not hundreds, of meters tall, its head becoming grotesque and terrifying, with several meter-long claws growing on its 2 hands. Seeing this, Bai Ye remained unfazed. The giant claw struck, but he neither dodged nor avoided it, letting it pass directly through his body. What? Vaccine Man was instantly incredulous. It should have been able to tear this human to shreds, so why did it hit nothing? At this moment, Bai Ye threw kunai again. This time, Vaccine Man didn't even bother to dodge, seemingly confident in its defense in its berserk state. The kunai indeed caused no damage, merely sticking to Vaccine Man's massive head. to Vaccine Man. It was no different from an itch. However, Byakuya directly imbued the blade of the Red Knight blade with Kimui's power, like an enchantment. Now, the Red Knight blade also possessed Kimui's crushing ability, capable of ignoring all physical defenses. Even if Vaccine Man's defense was higher, it would be useless unless it could break Kamui Dimension. Byakuya instantly performed the Flying Thunder God technique, beheading Vaccine Man from its head. The Red Knight blade, imbued with Kamui's power, allowed Byakuya to feel no resistance, cutting off Vaccine Man's head more easily than chopping vegetables. Vaccine Man's head rolled to the ground. It didn't die immediately, its eyes wide with disbelief, staring fixedly at Byakuya. Ding! Host has defeated dragon-level monster Vaccine Man, gaining reward 100 points. Ding! Host has defeated a dragon-level monster for the first time, gaining reward 50 points. Just then, Saitama, who had just finished changing into his battle suit, arrived. Huh? You've already defeated him. Looks like I'm late. Saitama looked at the dismembered corpse of Vaccine Man on the ground, his face devoid of expression. He had no interest in fame or gain, so he wouldn't compete with Byakuya for credit. Otherwise, he could have just punched Vaccine Man his head off right now. At this moment, the not-yet-dead Vaccine Man still wanted to fire light orbs at Byakuya with just its head. One after another, light orbs instantly condensed in its mouth. However, Byakuya directly transferred Vaccine Man into the Kamui dimension. Vaccine Man felt as if it had arrived in a dim, mysterious world, seeing no signs of life. As it was about to fire light orbs, it was momentarily at a loss, looking around. Suddenly, Byakuya appeared behind it, but it didn't notice him immediately. Die or submit, choose. Hearing this voice, Vaccine Man suddenly twisted its head. However, it found that it couldn't twist its head and could only comically roll backward, facing Byakuya upside down with its head on the ground. At this moment, Vaccine Man's eyes met Byakuya's Mangekyō Sharingan. Big eyes staring at small eyes. The Berserk Vaccine Man's single eyeball was almost bigger than Byakuya's entire body. Vaccine Man's originally completely white eyes suddenly turned into blood-red Sharingan, but then vanished in an instant. Ding! Host has controlled dragon-level monster Vaccine Man with Genjutsu, gaining reward 50 points. Post views 3-1 Punch Man. Double Godly Star Chapter 023. Byakuya had just had a wild thought, but he didn't expect that he could actually control Vaccine Man with Genjutsu. Ding! The host can control defeated opponents with Genjutsu in the One Punch Man world. The controlled targets still retain their self-awareness, but they must be absolutely obedient to the host. Currently, the host can control a maximum of 3 targets with Genjutsu, but the limit can be unlocked later. Just as Byakuya was curious, the system immediately provided an explanation. So that's how it is. Byakuya nodded slightly. Vaccine Man was a dragon-level monster, and even among dragon-level monsters, he was relatively strong. Controlling Vaccine Man had no downsides for him. Not only did he gain a powerful fighter, but he also earned rewards. In fact, if Vaccine Man hadn't been so careless, caught off guard by Flying Thunder God technique and the double Kimui's first sight kills, Byakuya wouldn't have been able to defeat him so easily. It was clear that Vaccine Man was set to be the strongest monster before Boros appeared. His energy sphere ability was also more powerful than Homeless Emperor's, and his physical strength completely crushed Homeless Emperor. He also had multiple mutated forms. In every way, he was a perfect superior to Homeless Emperor. It was likely that after Vaccine Man was instantly killed by Saitama, God had no choice but to choose Homeless Emperor to replace Vaccine Man the next moment. Vaccine Man came to his senses, but it didn't seem to realize that it had been controlled by Genjutsu. It subconsciously wanted to shoot an energy sphere at Byakuya, but nothing came out. Vaccine Man was instantly unable to understand what was happening. Byakuya understood. This was because Vaccine Man had to be absolutely obedient to him, so it naturally couldn't make any moves to harm him. He felt that his Genjutsu must have been modified by the system. For example, the fact that the controlled target still had self-awareness, which was quite good. Otherwise, He felt no interest in puppets. Stop struggling. You can't hurt me now. I'll find you later. After saying that, Bai Ye left the Kamui dimension first. Only a bewildered vaccine man was left in the Kamui dimension. You're back. Where did you go just now? Seeing Bai Ye suddenly appear out of thin air, Saitama immediately asked. Dealt with a small matter. By the way, what's going on here? Bai Ye looked around and saw many heroes and media reporters surrounding them. While you were gone, these guys showed up and insisted that I defeated the monster, but you were clearly the one who defeated it. Saitama's tone was a bit helpless. Mr. Saitama, you're too humble. Among everyone present, only you are an S-class hero. Who else could have defeated the monster besides you? That's right. You were the only one here just now, and the monster's corpse is at your feet. It said that this was a dragon-level disaster. Mr. Saitama, please allow us to interview you for your thoughts. Those media reporters completely ignored Saitama's explanation. But it was also a bit of a coincidence. Just as Bai Ye went to the Kamui dimension to control Vaccine Man, these media reporters and heroes appeared and saw the monster's corpse at Saitama's feet. It was no wonder they all mistakenly thought Saitama had defeated the monster. So I told you, he's the one who really defeated the monster. Saitama corrected them again, pointing at Bai Ye. Isn't he that B-class hero, Kamui? It's impossible to imagine a dragon-level monster appeared this time. He truly lives up to his reputation as a supernova who is immediately ranked S-class. He defeated a dragon-level monster so easily. Although he's currently at the very bottom, his actual combat power must be in the top 10. None of the heroes present believed what Saitama said. After all, they hadn't seen Bai Ye defeat Vaccine Man with their own eyes, so they simply refused to believe that a mere B-class hero could defeat a monster within a minute of a dragon-level disaster occurring. At this moment, Bai Ye shook his head helplessly and directly threw Vaccine Man's head out of the Kamui dimension. Suddenly, a massive head appeared out of thin air and landed in front of them, instantly startling the surrounding reporters and heroes. It's still alive? Could it be that Saitama really didn't defeat it? What exactly is going on? It moved. It moved. Eek, 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 eek. Everyone was terrified for a moment. Some people's legs went weak, and they almost peed their pants because Vaccine Man's head was still in its berserk form, looking exceptionally terrifying. And anyone who had witnessed Vaccine Man's terrifying destructive power would find it hard not to be afraid. Vaccine Man subconsciously tried to attack those people. Even with only a head left, it could still move. Come back. However, Bai Ye's cold command immediately stopped it because Vaccine Man could not defy his orders. The reporters and heroes stared dumbfounded at this scene. A dragon-level monster actually dared not resist that B-class hero. Bai Ye said nothing more, sucking Vaccine Man back into the Kamui dimension, then said to Saitama, "Let's go, let's head back." Only those reporters and heroes were left standing there, stunned. Saitama nodded. He was too lazy to stay there, and had no interest in being interviewed by the media. Soon, Bai Ye and Saitama returned home. Sitting on the sofa, Saitama fell into a brief contemplation. I always feel like this isn't quite the hero I want to be. The reactions of the reporters and heroes earlier made him feel uneasy. Why did those people, because of the difference in their ranks, decide that the monster couldn't have been defeated by Bai Ye? Why should there be a hierarchy among heroes? But since things were already like this, he couldn't just quit the Hero Association. Bai Ye smiled without speaking. The reason why Teacher Saitama felt uneasy was probably because the Hero Association's various systems seemed too hierarchical and utilitarian. This would certainly make Saitama, who only saw heroism as a hobby, feel strange. But there was no helping it. Human society was like this. The Hero Association's system had its own meaning for existence, with both disadvantages and advantages. The problem with the Hero Association was never the system, but those so-called important figures within. Afterward, Saitama had already put those things behind him and continued playing games in front of the TV. Bai Ye returned to the Kamui dimension again. He could see that Vaccine Man, which had originally only had a head left, was slowly regenerating its body. I was originally wondering if I should bring your body in and give it back to you, but now it seems unnecessary, Byakuya immediately said. The elusive Byakuya almost startled Vaccine Man. At this time, Vaccine Man had at least regenerated one hand and used it to turn its head. What did you do to me? Why can't I attack you? Vaccine Man's veins bulged on its face as it asked in a furious tone. I know you're anxious, but don't be. Byakuya smiled faintly. You could say you're my slave now. Do you think a slave can harm its master? Post views. 3-1 Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 024 What? Vaccine Man's face instantly changed. It seemed utterly unable to accept becoming a human slave. I am Vaccine Man, born from the will of the Earth due to humanity's constant pollution of its environment. The Earth is a living organism, and you humans are the pathogens corroding its life. Annihilating humanity and the civilization you created is my mission. How dare you treat me, an apostle of Earth, as a slave? Vaccine Man was furious, but it had no way to deal with Byakuya, which proved Byakuya's claims of master and servant were true. It could only rage impotently. I don't care if you're an apostle of Earth or whatever. Right now, you're my tool. If you don't like it, you could try to resist me. Byakuya said expressionlessly. Damn it, why wouldn't Vaccine Man want to resist? But it simply couldn't. The moment such a thought arose in its mind, its body would directly lose control. Too lazy to waste more words with you. Come out with me first. With that, Byakuya led Vaccine Man out of the Kamui dimension. At this moment, Saitama was playing a video game at Byakuya's house. He turned his head and saw a strange-looking fellow next to Byakuya. Since Saitama had only seen the rampaging Vaccine Man before, he didn't recognize the Vaccine Man, who had now returned to its normal form. He just felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Who is he? Is he your friend? Why does he feel so much like a monster? Saitama immediately asked Byakuya. He's Vaccine Man, the dragon-level monster that appeared today. I've got him under control now. Byakuya explained. Don't worry, he won't disturb your gaming. All right then. Saitama turned back to his game. He didn't care about Vaccine Man or Virus Man. As long as they didn't disturb his gaming, everything was fine. I advise you to behave. I won't do anything to you, but that guy over there truly will punch you to smithereens. Byakuya kindly vant Vakinaman. But Vaccine Man scoffed, not putting the bald man in its eyes. Even Byakuya, who had undeniably defeated it, it wasn't entirely convinced. It felt it had been careless. Otherwise, it might not have lost to this human. Once your body regenerates, I'll get you some clothes. Saying this, Byakuya prepared to go to the wardrobe to pick out an outfit for Vaccine Man. Otherwise, the guy was naked. Although it didn't have those organs, it would be very indecent to go out like that. Since it was already his tool, there would definitely be times when he needed to take it out. Wait, hearing the other party wanted to dress it, Vaccine Man immediately turned pale with fright. No, I don't want to wear stupid clothes like stupid humans. However, how could Byakuya possibly heed Vaccine Man's opinion? He walked into the bedroom without looking back. He casually picked out an outfit from the wardrobe that Vaccine Man could barely wear just to make do for now. Later, he would probably have to specifically go to a tailor to get a custom outfit for Vaccine Man, because Vaccine Man was over 2 meters tall and normal clothes wouldn't fit it well. As Byakuya walked out of the bedroom with the clothes, Vaccine Man's body had just finished regenerating. It desperately wanted to escape, but it couldn't even move, because it couldn't defy Byakuya's command, and that command was for it to obediently put on clothes. No, let go of me. Vaccine Man howled in despair, its expression deranged. However, it was no use. It could only obediently obey Byakuya's command. Its body moved on its own, actively taking the clothes Byakuya brought and putting them on. Only its head could still be controlled. Throughout the process, Vaccine Man screamed with a distorted face. So noisy. At this moment, Saitama, who was playing the game, was so annoyed by Vaccine Man's noise that he couldn't operate properly. His AI opponent seized the opportunity to turn the tables with a combo, which immediately made him fume. But this was Byakuya's house, not his own, so he couldn't really complain. He could only try to concentrate on the game. However, even if it were Saitama's own home, he wouldn't punch Vaccine Man into pieces. At most, he would threaten Vaccine Man a bit, because he realized this monster seemed to have become one of them. When the clothes were completely on, Vaccine Man's heart was already ashen, helpless like a powerless husband in a hentai, only able to watch its body be defiled. Don't be so dramatic. Putting clothes on you is like taking your life. Bai Ye was speechless. He hadn't seen such an exaggerated reaction, even when he had cut off its head. Vaccine Man clenched its fists in utter humiliation. I am an apostle of Earth. I will never be assimilated by you pathogens who pollute the Earth. At this moment, Vaccine Man looked just like a passionate male protagonist from a Japanese anime. Is it really necessary? Bai Ye was even more speechless. Forget it. I'm not interested in assimilating you. You just need to obediently do what I need when I need it. I will never work for you humans. Vaccine Man's tone was firm, its resolute gaze showing no weakness. That's not up to you. Bai Ye said lightly. Vaccine Man, go clean the entire room. A tool didn't just have to fight. It could also help with chores. No. Stop. Vaccine Man grabbed its right hand, which was reaching for the broom, with its left hand, but it couldn't stop it. Its legs were already uncontrollably walking towards the broom subsequently. Filled with humiliation, Vaccine Man completed a thorough cleaning of Bai Ye's house. However, Vaccine Man was a monster after all. Its form was merely similar to humans, not mutated from humans, so it didn't have much skill in housework. Several times, it almost overturned various pieces of furniture with excessive force, only to right them in time. Seeing Vaccine Man complete the cleaning, Bai Ye nodded slightly. Well done, although the process was a bit bumpy. Damn human, just kill me. Vaccine Man cried out in despair. Bai Ye, making it do human things was more agonizing than death. Why kill you? Isn't living good? Bai Ye said casually. Next, you'll play games with him. Under Bai Ye's command, Vaccine Man sat on the cushion next to Saitama, unable to resist. Its hands uncontrollably picked up the game controller. The television screen in front of it was completely incomprehensible. Saitama's expression suddenly became serious, his eyes sharp as he looked at Vaccine Man. Oh? Do you want to challenge me too? I won't go easy. One Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 025. The first round began. Vaccine Man had no idea how to play this game or how to operate the controller, so he just mashed the buttons randomly. As a result, Saitama completely defeated Vaccine Man in the first round. In the subsequent rounds, Saitama also emerged victorious. He remembered being completely shut out by Bai Ye in their last 10 matches, losing all 10. This time, he finally achieved a winning streak. This made Saitama incredibly excited, and he played with increasing joy. Haha, I won again. When he achieved a 6-game winning streak, Saitama shouted happily. Vaccine Man, who was initially bored and found humans playing such a tedious game utterly foolish, gradually began to feel annoyed as he continuously lost. Wasn't it a humiliation to lose to a human in such a trivial matter? Therefore, Vaccine Man also began to actively learn the controls. As Vaccine Man's operations and awareness continuously improved, Saitama gradually felt that something was amiss. This guy, he's actually getting stronger? Saitama cast a stern glance at Vaccine Man. Next, although Saitama continued to win several more rounds, it became increasingly difficult. In the previous round, he had barely won with a sliver of health left. Saitama was starting to panic a little. On the other hand, Vaccine Man's lips curled slightly, and he secured victory in the next round. Foolish humans are nothing more than this. Vaccine Man immediately became smug. You've only won one round. Don't get too happy too soon, Saitama retorted, unconvinced. In the following matches, Saitama and Vaccine Man had alternating victories. Vaccine Man wasn't able to completely overwhelm Saitama. Precisely because of the back-and-forth victories, neither side was willing to concede, and they became more and more engrossed in the game. Bai Ye, meanwhile, sat on the sofa, leisurely sipping tea. Having Vaccine Man play games with Saitama was the purpose of a tool. However, He had initially thought Vaccine Man would allow Saitama to experience the pleasure of bullying a weaker opponent. Instead, Saitama only felt a little of it before Vaccine Man quickly caught up, creating an evenly matched situation. It seemed this guy only refused verbally, but his body was honest. After all, if he didn't actively accept and learn, his gaming skills wouldn't improve. Afterward, the Hero Association confirmed the dragon-level disaster. Based on the multi-party testimonies of the reporters, citizens, and heroes present, they attributed the main credit for this disaster to Byakuya and Saitama. As a B-class hero, Byakuya still faced some discrimination, as people believe it was impossible for him to defeat a dragon-level monster by himself. But at least because Byakuya had left a deep impression on everyone present at the time, they also provided relevant testimonies, preventing Byakuya from being deemed without merit, which would have given all the credit to Saitama. Byakuya had no objections to sharing the credit with Saitama and couldn't be bothered to cause trouble at the Hero Association. He would gain plenty more credit in the future. Half a credit was nothing. Moreover, even if he did cause trouble, he couldn't forcibly raise his rank. At most, he would prove his strength in defeating a dragon-level monster, but rank wasn't solely based on strength. In short, both Byakuya's and Saitama's ranks improved. Byakuya rose from B-class rank 56 to B-class rank 5. At first glance, this seemed like a significant rise, but it was actually nothing, because this time they faced a dragon-level disaster. A disaster of this level only occurred once in a blue moon. The Hero Association's definition of a dragon-level disaster was a crisis that could lead to the destruction of multiple cities. Its value was far beyond that of wolf-level, tiger-level, or even demon-level disasters. Saitama, on the other hand, rose from S-Class rank 17 to rank 15, although there were only 17 active S-Class heroes in total. Even rising 2 or 3 ranks in the S-Class tier was extremely difficult. For example, King, who had taken so much credit from Saitama, was still at S-Class rank 7. Even though King was known as the strongest man on Earth, he was still rank 7. Because rank wasn't only based on strength. This was an old adage, but in addition to the contributions mentioned before, there were other influencing factors such as identity, fame, connections. No matter how strong King was on Earth, his identity was just that of an ordinary person. He had no connections within the Hero Association, leaving only his fame, which was quite high. Rank 15? My rank rose pretty quickly. Saitama saw his rank update on the Hero Association's official website on his phone. I also rose to B-Class rank 5, Byakuya said, also checking his rank on his phone. Then you'll be A-Class soon enough. But before that, let's have a match. I'm completely different from the me of a few days ago. Saitama felt like he was on a roll again. All right, Byakuya immediately sat down and started up King of Fighters. Vaccine Man, with Byakuya's permission, went out to wander, but his activity was limited to the uninhabited areas of Z City. Byakuya certainly couldn't let him run loose on the streets of residential areas. That would bring trouble upon himself. About 10 minutes later, Saitama had turned into a red-hot stewed egg because he had suffered another losing streak, unable to win even a single round. When he played against Vaccine Man, he at least had some back and forth, but he couldn't win against Byakuya. Of course, Vaccine Man was just a great Demon King Piccolo who had just started playing games. Beating him didn't prove anything. I'm done. I'll practice for a few more days, then I'll challenge you again. Saitama knew he definitely couldn't beat Byakuya today, but he believed that with his effort, he would eventually be able to defeat Byakuya, just as his head had gone bald from such efforts. But combat power and gaming skill were ultimately not the same thing. Saitama might have unparalleled talent in combat power, constantly breaking his limiter, but his gaming talent was at an ordinary person's level. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't beat King, who had maxed out gaming talent, nor could he beat Byakuya, who possessed a Sharingan like a cheat. Ding! Host has defeated a tiger-level monster, gaining a reward of 10 points. Today, another tiger-level monster appeared in Z City. Byakuya, upon learning the news, immediately teleported there and naturally instantly killed it. Afterward, as usual, he reported it to the Hero Association. Bai Ye's rank rose again, reaching B-class rank 4. However, going higher would be more difficult, as the top few ranks in B-class were monopolized by the Blizzard Group. It was hard to enter the top 3, and even harder to step over the Blizzard Group to advance to A-class. Simply put, it was due to connections. For example, on one side was a lone individual hero, and on the other was the largest Blizzard Group. The Hero Association would definitely side with the Blizzard Group. After glancing at his fixed position on the ranking board, Bai Ye was about to leave when he suddenly noticed someone secretly inquiring about him. It was a familiar-looking girl, a black-haired girl with a single ponytail, though parts of her bangs and ponytail were dyed blue. She wore a black suit, a lily hair accessory on her head, and a chest size that seemed a bit mismatched with her youthful face. This seemed to be Lily of the Blizzard Group. That Lily, the 3-section staff Lily, Fubuki's personal assistant. However, it seemed Lily hadn't gathered any useful information yet. After the person she had just asked shook their head, she prepared to ask someone else. By chance, she turned around and found herself in front of Bai Ye. "Excuse me." Lily had just opened her mouth to ask when she suddenly realized that the blood-eyed young man in front of her looked very familiar. Blood eyes? And that face presumably. Having recognized Bai Ye, Lily's expression immediately froze. One Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 026. Excuse me, what? Bai Ye immediately pressed. And nothing, Lily instantly panicked. At this moment, she just wanted to turn around and leave. Lily had originally come to inquire about Bai Ye, but she unexpectedly ran into Bai Ye himself at the Z-City branch. Since she was alone and none of the Fubuki group members were present, she didn't dare to be arrogant in front of Bai Ye. Currently, Bai Ye was rank 9 in B class, while Lily was rank 75. "But I just heard you asking someone about me?" Bai Ye's face showed a somewhat sly smile. "Now that I'm here, you can ask me directly if you have anything." Lily still wanted to deny it, but then she thought perhaps the other person was someone easy to talk to. Clearly, Lily had been deceived by the smile on Bai Ye's face. It couldn't be said deceived. It was just Bai Ye's sly grin, which led Lily to a simple misunderstanding. To receive praise from Lady Fubuki, Lily decided to be bold and directly asked Bai Ye in front of her, "You're B-class rank 9, right? Have you ever heard of the famous Fubuki group?" Seeing Lily change from timid to serious, Bai Ye immediately answered truthfully, "I have heard of it." "You haven't heard of it, right? Let me tell you about it properly." Lily was about to explain the existence of the Fubuki group to Bai Ye when she suddenly realized something was off. "Wait, you know about the Fubuki group?" Lily's face was filled with astonishment. She had thought that as a newcomer who had only recently joined the Hero Association, it wouldn't be strange for him not to know the B-class rules and the existence of the Fubuki group. Yet, however, his answer was beyond her expectation. "Of course I know. Besides the Tank Top Army, the Fubuki group is the most famous organization in the Hero Association." Bai Ye had a very friendly expression. "But you clearly know about the Fubuki group, yet you didn't come to greet Lady Fubuki in time?" Lily asked in confusion. "Since you know about the Fubuki group, you must also know about Lady Fubuki, B-class rank 1, right?" I've heard of her." Bai Ye nodded slightly, his tone very calm. "Then why didn't you proactively greet Lady Fubuki?" "This is an old B-class rule." Lily questioned seriously. Under the long-term monopoly of the Fubuki group, B-class had long formed an unwritten rule. Every newcomer promoted to B-class must proactively greet Fubuki, and if they have good potential and are invited by Fubuki, they cannot refuse, or they will pay a heavy price. "I know these rules, but I feel they're too troublesome, so I'm too lazy to go." Bai Ye answered bluntly. Lily's expression became a bit more serious. "Before Lady Fubuki gets angry, I advise you to quickly go and greet her. Lady Fubuki also has something she wants to say to you." "No." Bai Ye shook his head without hesitation. "Why? Aren't you afraid of angering Lady Fubuki?" Lily immediately asked. "Because it's too troublesome. Tell her to come here herself. Then I might greet her." Bai Ye said lightly. Like Saitama, he also disliked these messy rules. Lily frowned slightly. "Do you know that disrespecting Lady Fubuki will come at a cost? This counts as disrespect." "I don't quite understand you all." Bai Ye felt a bit speechless. Also, didn't you just say she had something to say to me? You could just tell me directly now. If you don't go and greet Lady Fubuki, I won't tell you. Lily snorted lightly and turned her face away. Hearing this, Bai Ye suddenly felt that this guy was a bit adorably foolish, acting as if he really wanted to know what Fubuki had to say to him. Actually, he could guess it just by thinking. It was most likely an invitation to join the Fubuki group. Because his current rank had reached B-Class rank 9, Fubuki liked to recruit promising B-Class heroes into the Fubuki group. Otherwise, he couldn't think of any other reason. He hadn't even met that woman before. If you don't tell me, then don't. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. With that, Bai Ye turned to leave. However, he was immediately called back by Lily. Wait a moment. Is there anything else? One last question. Where do you live? Lily asked seriously. Bai Ye slowly typed out a question mark, but he immediately realized that the Fubuki group probably wanted to investigate his situation so they could directly come to his home if they wanted to retaliate against him in the future. Asking for someone's home address right off the bat, are you a stalker? Bai Ye still asked teasingly. Hearing the word stalker, Lily was momentarily stunned. This word was quite impactful for a simple girl. The next moment, she reacted, her cheeks slightly flushed, and she retorted somewhat flustered, I am not. Then why are you asking where I live? Bai Ye asked casually. Lily hesitated for a while, but still refused to answer. Why ask so many questions? Just tell me, that's all. She couldn't possibly tell Bai Ye that it would make it easier for their Fubuki group to come looking for trouble later. That won't do. If you don't explain clearly, I won't answer. What if you really are a stalker? Bai Ye continued to tease Lily. I told you I'm not a stalker. Lily retorted, feeling indignant and embarrassed. All right, that's enough. I should go back. Bai Ye didn't want to waste any more words with Lily and left after speaking. Wait a moment. Answer my question before you go. However, no matter how Lily called out from behind, Bai Ye did not stop. Seeing Bai Ye walk further and further away, Lily suddenly became anxious. She didn't want to return empty-handed, and, as if by some impulse, she ran to follow him. However, she was very cautious, trying her best not to be discovered by the other party. So, her behavior was already considered stalking Bai Ye. Perhaps because Bai Ye had been relatively friendly throughout, Lily had forgotten that Bai Ye's rank and strength were above hers. Now she even dared to stalk him. Bai Ye had noticed Lily tracking him from the start. Originally, he had planned to teleport straight home, but now he had a bit of interest and decided to tease Fubuki's little follower. Next, Bai Ye's walking route became chaotic. In short, it was nowhere near his home. Because of all the turns, Lily was already exhausted trying not to lose Bai Ye. Just around the next corner, she suddenly found that Bai Ye was gone. Realizing she might have truly lost him, Lily no longer hid in the shadows and quickly ran to the end of the road, hoping to see Bai Ye around the next bend. However, the next bend was still empty, damn it. Lily's expression immediately became very unwilling. Just as she was feeling frustrated, she soon discovered an even worse situation. She seemed to be lost. Lily looked around and realized that she had unknowingly tracked him into a wild suburban area. All around were dense weeds and trees, and she didn't know which direction to take to get back to the city. Lily leaned against a tree in despair, having been exhausted from tracking for so long. Tired and lost, her emotions and mental state quickly began to crumble. After all, Lily was almost the youngest female hero in the Hero Association, and her mind was not yet mature and steady enough, making her even more afraid in such a predicament. The more afraid she was, the more she tended to overthink. She imagined herself possibly starving to death in the wilderness, never seeing Lady Fubuki again, or even being eaten by a monster. Lily's eyes welled up, and she sat helplessly under the tree, hugging her knees. Post views for One Punch Man. Double Godly Star Chapter 027. Upon seeing this, Bai Ye, who was in the shadows, suddenly felt as if he had teased her a bit too much, making the little girl cry. He couldn't stand the sight of a girl crying. He sighed softly, then instantly appeared in front of Lily. Lily, who was sobbing softly with her head down, saw Bai Ye's shoes and immediately looked up. Let's go, I'll take you out. Bai Ye didn't say much, simply extended his hand to Lily. Lily's eyes became confused, her thoughts seemingly a bit muddled. But after hesitating for a while, she still reached out and took Byakuya's hand. In front of Lily, Byakuya didn't display the powers of double Kamui and flying thunder god technique. Instead, he led Lily on foot out of this desolate suburban area. Halfway through, Lily wiped away the remaining tear stains on her face with her other hand. She also felt a bit embarrassed that Byakuya had seen her crying. "Did you already discover I was following you?" At this moment, Lily suddenly asked. After all, if not for that, the other party wouldn't have turned back to find her. "Yes, actually, I noticed a long time ago." Byakuya nodded directly. As expected, in this situation, Lily wasn't too surprised. No wonder when she was following him. He kept circling around. Thank you," Lily thanked him in a low voice. If the other party hadn't turned back to find her, she would have been trapped there and unable to return. "It's nothing, but don't just follow people casually in the future, or you might get sold without even knowing it," Byakuya kindly advised her. "I don't just follow people casually. It's because you wouldn't tell me that I was forced to follow you," Lily immediately mumbled. "Forced? After all, I'm just a new B-class rank 9. I shouldn't be that important to your Blizzard group, right? Why go to such trouble?" Byakuya was a bit puzzled by this. No matter how strong his true power was, almost no one knew his true strength. On the surface, he was just a B-class rank 9. It was understandable that the Blizzard group wanted to invite him, but Lily saying she was forced to follow him was a bit. Lily's face showed hesitation. After a while, she said, "That's my own problem. I want to help Miss Fubuki handle this matter well. I want to receive praise from Miss Fubuki." All right, Byakuya was speechless. He remembered that this girl indeed had the Fubuki fangirl setting. She admired Fubuki greatly, and had also voluntarily joined the Blizzard group. Especially the lily hair ornament on her head. It was quite thought-provoking. "I advise you to give up. I'm not stupid enough to tell you my home address. Wouldn't it be inviting your Blizzard group to cause trouble?" Byakuya stated directly. "No, it won't. As long as you proactively greet Miss Fubuki and accept her invitation, not only will you not be troubled, but it will also be greatly beneficial to you." Lily quickly shook her head. "Accept the invitation? So, the matter she wants to discuss with me is inviting me to join the Blizzard group, right?" Byakuya asked indifferently. Lily then realized she had accidentally blurted it out. She subconsciously covered her mouth, but it was already meaningless. Since she had already said it, she didn't care anymore. "Yes, Miss Fubuki believes you have good potential, so she intends to invite you to join the Blizzard group. But Miss Fubuki can't find you for now, which is why I came to inquire about you." "I understand, but I refuse." Byakuya refused without mercy. He would have to be incredibly bored to join the Blizzard group. Not only would it not help him at all, but he would also be inferior to others, because Fubuki was the leader of the Blizzard group. "Wait, don't refuse so quickly. Don't you know there are many benefits?" Lily quickly explained. "In our hero industry, there are also many factions. It's very difficult to survive alone in this industry. For example, if you want to improve your ranking, you'll be hindered by competitors who have joined organizations. Don't you know all this?" "I know, but I still refuse." Byakuya was unyielding. This made Lily anxious. "Not only that, as long as you join our Blizzard group, Miss Fubuki can guarantee you become a high-ranking B-class hero. Otherwise, you'll find it impossible to advance. For example, the top few ranks in B-class were monopolized by the Blizzard group. Those below them basically couldn't move up unless they joined the Blizzard group. Because if you challenge one of the top few, it wouldn't be a one-on-one fight, but facing the obstruction of the entire Blizzard group. Either make an extremely astonishing contribution, so you can become an A-class hero without challenging the B-class rank 1 Fubuki. But how many B-class heroes can make such a contribution? So it becomes a dead end. I understand." Byakuya nodded slightly. Just then, they had arrived at the residential area. "This should be far enough, right? Then I'm leaving." Lily thought the other party had listened and nodded with a smile. It would be best if you could come to our Blizzard group, or if you don't know the exact location, I can also take you there." "Wait, I only said I understood. Not that I would join you," Byakuya corrected her. "Also, although I was the one who reached out first, can you let go now? I need to go back. Byakuya looked at his hand, which was still being held by Lily. Lily then suddenly realized that she had been holding a man's hand for so long. Her mind had been preoccupied with the Blizzard group matter just now, causing her to overlook it. She quickly let go with a flustered expression, and a hint of shyness couldn't help but appear on her face. Sorino, why are you still unwilling to join? Lily, who had regained her composure, pressed him. I've explained it more than once. It's just too much trouble, and I'm used to being alone. Byakuya explained casually. If you insist, then don't blame me for not warning you. Miss Fubuki definitely won't be polite to you. Without exception, everyone who has ever refused Miss Fubuki's invitation has deeply regretted it. At this point, Lily didn't know how else to persuade him, so she could only state the unpleasant truth up front. You should think about it carefully first. You can contact me anytime you've made up your mind. Saying that, she took out her phone from her pocket. Seeing this, Byakuya immediately asked, "Are you going to exchange contact information with me?" Upon hearing Byakuya say that, Lily immediately thought of something else, and with a slightly embarrassed expression, she emphasized, "Don't misunderstand me. This is just for convenience in case of anything. Absolutely no ulterior motives." Post views, 6-1 Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 028, even in the Heavenly Dynasty. Asking for contact information from the opposite sex was considered a somewhat ambiguous act. What's more, in the One Punch Man world, which had a Japanese background, men and women wouldn't easily exchange contact information under normal circumstances. That's why Lily specifically emphasized it to Byakuya. No need, no need. I'm not that conceited. Byakuya calmly exchanged contact information with Lily. Both their phones now had each other's phone numbers, and they could even see each other's line, which was similar to WeChat, through that number. All right, farewell. With that, Byakuya slipped away. Lily also prepared to take the subway back. Although she didn't ask where he lived today, at least she got his contact information, so it wasn't a complete waste. As she walked, something suddenly occurred to her. She opened her phone and searched for Byakuya's number online. She found that Byakuya had a blank avatar, and his name was just a... Seeing this, Lily confirmed the number again to make sure it was correct. Otherwise, it would be hard to confirm if this was even his line. Then she clicked to send a friend request. On the other side, Byakuya's phone vibrated. He took out his phone and saw a message from the Line app. He had registered on a whim and hadn't added anyone yet, so he didn't expect to get a message. He then thought that it might be from Lily. He clicked on it, and sure enough, it was Lily's friend request, and her avatar was a photo of her and Fubuki. Byakuya immediately accepted the friend request. A moment later, Lily quickly sent a message. "You're not allowed to tell anyone that I cried today." "Don't worry, I'm not that bored." Byakuya replied. "That's good." Then she sent an emoji, and Lily didn't send any more messages. Byakuya also turned off his phone and teleported back home. Although Vaccine Man was now under Byakuya's control, his house had limited space and only one bedroom. So he directly let Vaccine Man choose any empty house on that floor to live in. Except for his and Saitama's homes, the entire building was empty. Even the entire uninhabited zone, since Saitama had become an S-class hero and could earn prize money for defeating monsters. He had recently received a substantial reward. The first thing he did with the money was take his broken TV to the residential area for repairs, and then carried it back. Now, he wouldn't have to borrow Byakuya's TV to play games every day. However, he still continued to freeload meals because Byakuya's cooking was better. Unlike before, Saitama now had money to buy more ingredients. So, being a professional hero makes this much money? Saitama said with a slight surprise while eating at Byakuya's house. Capable heroes earn more, but those at the bottom don't have it so good. Byakuya explained. "I see, although it feels like something's not quite right, I'll still take it. This way, I won't have to eat your food every day." Saitama pondered. A large part of this money came from the reward for solving a dragon-level disaster, which was why Saitama felt something was off. Logically, the reward for the dragon-level disaster should have been Byakuya's. Byakuya naturally knew this but didn't mention it at all. He didn't care about money. It didn't matter if it was a lot or a little, as long as it was enough. This wasn't to say he viewed money as dirt, But in a world like One Punch Man, strength was king and money was nothing. These past few days, Lily had been waiting for Byakuya to think it over and give her an answer. But there was no news from him at all. She hadn't even seen him online. "Lily, have you finished processing the documents I assigned you?" Just then, Fubuki walked into the office. This was their Fubuki group, space like a studio within a large building. "It's already done. I'll hand it over to Miss Fubuki now." Lily rummaged through a drawer and handed the documents to Fubuki. The woman before her, with shoulder-length dark green hair, a deep green long dress, and a fur coat, was none other than Hellish Blizzard, rank 1 of B class. Not only was she fair-skinned and beautiful, but her figure was also the complete opposite of her sister Tatsumaki's. She was a tall beauty with a graceful and proud physique. If Tatsumaki was a lowly type, then Fubuki was an Oju-sama type. However, one thing the sisters had in common was their rather unpleasant personalities as she took the documents. Fubuki seemed to look at Lily with some concern. Her mouth seemed to be forming words, but she didn't say anything. After leaving the office, Fubuki immediately questioned the other members of the Fubuki group. "Tell me honestly, has anyone bullied Lily?" The members shook their heads. "No, no one here has bullied Lily." "That's right. Lily is Miss Fubuki's trusted subordinate. How could we dare to bully her?" But speaking of it, Lily has been a bit distracted lately, constantly checking her phone. Could it be love? Like, always waiting for a message from her sweetheart. That's actually possible. Lily is at that age where she's just starting to experience love. Rumors began to form like this. Meanwhile, Lily, sitting in the office, was completely unaware. Fubuki also fell into thought. She didn't know much about such matters, but she felt that what everyone said made some sense. It might really be like that. Then there's nothing to worry about. Fubuki didn't take this matter to heart. In her opinion, as long as Lily wasn't being bullied, that was all that mattered. On the other hand, the members of the Fubuki group became increasingly curious. "Miss Fubuki, do you have any clues about Lily's love interest? I'm so curious. What kind of guy would Lily like? Or maybe a girl?" "You guys be careful not to be too loud." Lily is still in the office. The reason everyone was curious was mostly because they knew Lily greatly admired Miss Fubuki, even to the point of adoration. So they actually didn't really believe in the possibility of Lily being in love. Regardless of whether the love interest was a boy or a girl, how would I know? That's her private business. Fubuki said calmly, "You all go do your own work too. Don't just stand here discussing other people's private matters." "Yes, Miss Fubuki." Everyone nodded and stopped chatting idly. "By the way, that B-class rank 9, have you already figured out his location?" At this moment, Fubuki remembered there was still a guy on the B-class ranking who didn't follow the rules. Post views for One Punch Man. Double Godly, start chapter 029. "Yes, Miss Fubuki, that guy lives in the uninhabited area of Z City." "Good. When we have time, we'll go see how capable he really is." Fubuki's calm expression held a hint of arrogance. He must be properly warned, so he knows he's violated the B-class rules. Doesn't Miss Fubuki have the idea of inviting him to join? We can see if he's willing to join first. It's his honor for Miss Fubuki to personally go and invite him. No one can refuse such a good offer. I doubt that kid would dare to refuse, unless he overestimates himself. Clearly, the members of Blizzard Group didn't believe that Byakuya could stir up any trouble. They were convinced he would eventually join Blizzard Group obediently and realize what a rare and sought-after opportunity it was to join the Blizzard Group, led by Miss Fubuki. Fubuki didn't say much more and went about her own business. Meanwhile, Lily in the office still didn't know that the other members of Blizzard Group had already investigated Byakuya's residence today. But she knew that even if they hadn't finished, they would soon. So Lily grew increasingly anxious. If Miss Fubuki brought people to his door, all her previous efforts would be in vain. Conversely, if Byakuya was willing to cooperate with her and come to Blizzard Group, with her, not only would Byakuya avoid aggressive, unfriendly threats, but she would also gain Miss Fubuki's recognition and praise, making it a win-win situation. At this point, Lily finally couldn't hold back anymore. She proactively sent a message to Byakuya. At this moment, Byakuya was at home playing games with Saitama. The phone beside the cushion suddenly vibrated. He casually tapped it, and saw that it was a message from Lily. "Mr. Kamui, have you not made up your mind yet?" Since he was playing a game, Bai Ye didn't have time to reply for now. He just glanced at it. Then his gaze returned to the TV screen. At the same time, Lily's end showed read, but there was no reply from Bai Ye for a long time. If it had been unread, it would have been fine, but read without a reply made her even more anxious. It wasn't until 2 minutes later that Bai Ye easily defeated Saitama again. No, Bai Ye's reply was very brief, but also very clear. He just didn't want to join Blizzard Group, so there was nothing more to say. Lily was already busy with her work, but as soon as she heard her phone vibrate, she immediately picked it up to check. The result was this kind of reply. "You're on your own." After sending these 2 messages, Lily turned off her phone, feeling a bit annoyed. Her kind persuasion wasn't working, so she could only let Bai Ye suffer a bit. When Miss Fubuki personally came to his door, if Bai Ye still responded like this, he would definitely be taught a lesson by Miss Fubuki. She had warned him more than once. It was his own fault for not listening. Lily slumped on her desk, temporarily losing the mood to deal with her official business. "Did someone contact you about something? Why don't we play next time? You go take care of your business." Seeing Bai Ye pick up his phone to do something, Saitama thought he had important matters to attend to. "No, it's just a small matter. Let's continue." Bai Ye had already casually put his phone down. "All right, this time I'll defeat you with a new combo I just developed." Saitama, full of fighting spirit, started the next match. But in the end, Saitama still had a bald day today, not winning a single match against Bai Ye. It just so happened that he was already bald. Slap. At that moment, Bai Ye suddenly heard a crisp, slapping sound. He immediately looked at Saitama in surprise, not understanding why Saitama would slap himself. Saitama's palm was still on his face. "A mosquito, but it's been taken care of." Facing Bai Ye's surprised gaze, Saitama explained. However, as soon as he let go, the mosquito flew out, looking lively as if nothing had happened. Saitama was immediately somewhat incredulous and reached out to catch the mosquito again, but it still escaped. Next, no matter how Saitama slapped, he couldn't capture or kill that mosquito. At this moment, Bai Ye sat there motionless, watching this scene. It appeared. The strongest god-level mosquito in the entire One Punch Man series appeared, enduring all sorts of attacks from Saitama completely unharmed, either impossible to hit or impossible to kill. Of course, this could only be explained as the illogical divine power bestowed by the original author. So Bai Ye didn't want to interfere with such illogical divine power, and just sat there observing. Saitama grew more and more agitated the more he fought, until the mosquito completely escaped. Damn it. It actually got away. Saitama immediately looked furious. Bai Ye sat there expressionless, not surprised by this outcome at all. However, what was worth noting for him was that with the appearance of this god-level mosquito, it meant that the House of Evolution was about to make its debut. The first to appear would be the demon-level monster, Mosquito Girl, Mosquito Daughter, and that creature was about to attack Z City. Saitama calmed down and sat down to watch TV. At that moment, a program was playing on the TV. The program's theme was Great Chaos, abnormal mosquito breeding. This year, mosquitoes have bred in large numbers, affecting the normal lives of citizens. What is the cause of this? Let's invite mosquito expert Mr. Kafiki to tell us. From the conclusion, the mosquitoes that have appeared this year are a new species never before seen. So, I don't know anything either. Get out. This absurd dialogue seemed like a comedy show, but then a breaking news report was immediately inserted into the program. A large swarm of mosquitoes is heading towards Z City. All citizens are advised not to go outside. The disaster level is initially determined to be demon. The news also showed specific footage. The swarm of mosquitoes gathered in the sky looked like a sandstorm, so dense it was chilling. Animals in their path were instantly sucked dry into corpses. Watching this news, cold sweat immediately broke out on Saitama's face. Isn't this Z City where we are? Hurry and close the windows. Just one mosquito had completely annoyed him. He couldn't stand a whole swarm of them. At the same time, Mosquito Girl, leading countless mosquitoes, was rapidly approaching Z-City. And Vaccine Man, who was currently strolling in the uninhabited area, also sensed the arrival of the mosquito swarm. Its face instantly turned into a JoJo art style, looking up at a certain direction in the sky. What's that B-grade commotion? One Punch Man, Double Godly, start Chapter 30 Saitama. First went to close his own doors and windows, then came to Byakuya's house to help him close his doors and windows as well. However, just as he was about to close the last window, that god-level mosquito flew in again. You dare to come back? This time, I won't let you escape again, you damn mosquito. Upon seeing this familiar mosquito, Saitama flew into a rage. Byakuya, on the other hand, sat calmly on the sofa, drinking tea. As long as that god-level mosquito didn't bother him, he couldn't be bothered to deal with it. What are those things? Vaccine Man slowly ascended into the sky, looking at the massive swarm of mosquitoes in the distance, a sense of confusion rising in his heart. He only knew that he was born from the will of the earth, burdened with the mission to eliminate humanity. He knew almost nothing else. He might not even know that he was a monster. After all, monster was originally a term created by humans. Vaccine Man recognized mosquitoes, but he could also see a graceful human figure within the distant mosquito swarm, and this was what confused him. At this moment, Vaccine Man tried to summon a light orb. Then he discovered that his body was finally no longer restricted. Ever since he was controlled by Byakuya, he couldn't make any attacking moves against humans, including summoning light orbs. This indicated that the figure surrounded by the mosquito swarm in the distance was not human. I've accumulated a lot of anger recently, so I'll just release it on these abominations, Vaccine Man muttered. But just then, the rapidly approaching mosquito swarm suddenly stopped. Since Vaccine Man had been ordered by Byakuya not to leave the uninhabited zone, and the mosquito swarm hadn't yet entered the uninhabited zone, he couldn't directly attack them for now. At the same time, someone was intercepting the mosquito swarm. The TV news and alarms have been quite effective. All the citizens in Z-City's residential area had either hidden in their houses or gone to shelters. The entire street and all the shops were empty. No, if one had to say, there was still one person, but it was a cyborg. Below the vast swarm of mosquitoes, there was a blonde youth wearing a short-sleeved shirt and jeans, his body covered in mechanical parts. Even his face had a metallic texture. This blonde youth was Demon Cyborg Genos. Of course, at this time, he didn't have this hero codename yet. Genos' only original part was his brain. The rest of his body consisted entirely of mechanical parts. Although his face was metallic, his facial features were original. So that's it. This swarm of mosquitoes is following your orders to suck blood and then transmitting it all to you. No wonder they act collectively with such perfect coordination. So, as long as I eliminate you, their master, that should be enough, right? Genos was instantly surrounded by countless mosquitoes, but because his body was made of metal parts, he could completely ignore the mosquito bites. He looked up, staring at Mosquito Girl, who was being embraced by the mosquito swarm. Mosquito Girl was a hybrid of a mosquito and a human female, with a disaster level of demon. She was considered quite strong among demon-level monsters. She still had the figure of a human girl, but her hands and feet had transformed into mosquito limbs. Her back had wings and a blood sac similar to a mosquito's, and her head also had mosquito features. Her face, however, still retained the cute features of a human girl, and her proboscis, or stinger, was in a retracted state. In the official data book, Mosquito Girl's height even reached 2.6 meters. This was due to her unusually long legs after they transformed into mosquito limbs. Later, after her mosquito legs were broken and replaced with human legs by Dr. Genus, she became much more normal, with a normal height of around 1.6 to 1.7 meters. At this moment, Mosquito Girl let out a cold snort, her eyes scornfully looking down at Genos. Suck him dry. Countless mosquitoes instantly surrounded Genos under Mosquito Girl's command. A normal human would have been sucked into 1,000 dry corpses by now. But Genos, as a cyborg, was unharmed. He raised his hand and unleashed an energy burst, instantly annihilating all the mosquitoes surrounding him. Seeing this, Mosquito Girl's face instantly filled with astonishment. At this moment, Genos's raised hand was pointed directly at Mosquito Girl in the air. His voice was cold as he said, "Don't move. Justi obediently. Hev, justio." Mosquito Girl let out a cold laugh, still not taking Genos seriously. Incinerate. Genos's palm instantly gathered energy, completing the charge in a flash, and fired a high-temperature shockwave at Mosquito Girl. But Mosquito Girl reacted quickly. Not only did she dodge the shockwave, but she also lunged at Genos. Genos's eyes instantly became wary. Clang! The next moment, Genos's left arm was pierced and torn off by Mosquito Girl's proboscis. As Mosquito Girl gloated, she suddenly found her body inexplicably lighter. She turned her head and realized that her leg below the knees had also disappeared. She also saw Genos below, casually throwing her legs onto the ground. Genos continued to fire energy blasts, relentlessly pursuing Mosquito Girl. Unknowingly, he chased her into the uninhabited zone. Mosquito Girl dodged, while her expression finally turned serious. That guy. Mosquito Girl knew that this wouldn't work and decided to use her ultimate move. She hardened her heart, spread her hands, and summoned all the mosquitoes within a 100-kilometer radius. Although the humans in the city had hidden very quickly, and the mosquito swarm had barely sucked any human blood, the animals couldn't escape. She would have those mosquitoes inject the absorbed blood into her body, thereby completing her evolution. Seeing the mosquito swarm in the sky, suddenly growing larger and larger, Genos immediately realized that something was wrong. He quickly gathered energy, wanting to resolve Mosquito Girl as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Saitama still couldn't do anything about that god-level mosquito, and under Mosquito Girl's summons, that mosquito drilled out through the crack in the door again. It's about time. Byakuya's thoughts stirred. He, who had been sitting and drinking tea, suddenly disappeared. The teacup landed steadily on the table, and Byakuya instantly teleported to Vaccine Man's side using the Flying Thunder God technique. He had already left a Flying Thunder God seal on Vaccine Man, sure enough. Byakuya could see the mosquito swarm not far away with a slight upward glance. He could see Mosquito Girl in the process of evolving. Vaccine Man had probably grown accustomed to Byakuya's elusive appearances and showed no surprise. Aim carefully when you throw it. Don't hit the wrong target. At this moment, Byakuya reminded Vaccine Man, who was about to fire a light orb. He had already sensed Genos over there. The main reason was that Vaccine Man's light orbs were too powerful. If he accidentally hit somewhere else, a large area of buildings would be blown to smithereens. Such a hassle. Vaccine Man scratched the back of his head with an annoyed expression. Fine, I'll just go and shove it in that guy's face. Will that do? One Punch Man. Double Godly Star Chapter 031, as the Divine Mosquito was summoned away by Mosquito Girl, Saitama, enraged, gave chase. Stop right there. Saitama roared furiously at the mosquito. However, he immediately noticed that the massive, eerie black cloud in the sky was very unusual. What is that thing? Ugh, it looks like a swarm of mosquitoes wriggling. Saitama stared in surprise at the mosquito swarm in midair. Why is there someone else here? Genos was surprised by Saitama's appearance and immediately warned him. Kid, you should take cover quickly. If that swarm of mosquitoes finds you, you'll be attacked. Really? Saitama looked stunned. Then let's run. Just then, a strange sound came from Mosquito Girl, who was enveloped by countless mosquitoes. Genos immediately turned his head to see the mosquito swarm surge forward like a turbulent sea. Facing such a terrifying situation, Genos remained calm. Energy immediately condensed in his palms. Incinerate. An energy blast erupted within a 500-meter radius around Genos, incinerating all the surrounding mosquitoes. When I first detected you, I confirmed there were no other life forms nearby, so I can eliminate you without any reservations. Genos stood amidst the flames, his gaze sharp as he stared at Mosquito Girl. However, only then did he realize that there had been someone who suddenly appeared beside him just moments ago. Damn it, there was someone else. Genos quickly turned his head to look at the bald man. He saw Saitama standing there, completely naked, his clothes apparently burned away by Genos's incineration blast. Don't worry, I'm fine. What kind of move was that? It's like a super mosquito exterminator. Saitama praised with a calm expression. Genos looked at Saitama, somewhat astonished. Hey, just then, Mosquito Girl in the air let out a cold laugh. She had completed her evolution, her entire body now dark red, though her skin remained pale. The parts of her body fused with the mosquito had undergone some minor mutations. Most importantly, her strength had dramatically increased. She instantly teleported behind Genos with a speed that he couldn't react to. Swish! A massive gash appeared across Genos's waist, nearly cutting him in half. He immediately counterattacked with his fist, but Mosquito Girl's dodging speed was just as fast, making it impossible to hit her. "Ha! You're so weak." Mosquito Girl laughed joyfully while dismembering Genos's mechanical body. Genos was instantly pushed to the brink of despair. He knew he had no chance of recovery and could only choose to self-destruct, however, just as the core in Genos's heart began beeping with the self-destruct countdown. Vaccine Man, who was holding a ball of light, suddenly appeared before Mosquito Girl. Seeing Vaccine Man suddenly appear before her, especially the terrifying energy emanating from the light ball, Mosquito Girl's triumphant smile immediately froze. "I'm very angry right now." With these words, Vaccine Man directly shoved the light ball into Mosquito Girl's face. Boom! The explosion of the light ball instantly blasted Mosquito Girl away. The ruptured blood bag scattered like a blood mist in the air, and her wings, arms, and other limbs were shattered. Her entire body flew an unknown distance. Ding! The host's henchman, Vaccine Man, has defeated the demon-level monster Mosquito Girl and received a reward. 40 points. Ding! The host has defeated a demon-level monster for the first time and received a reward. 30 points. Since Vaccine Man was Bai Ye's henchman, Bai Ye naturally received the rewards. However, the light ball's impact was not limited to that. A large area of nearby buildings was almost flattened. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited area, so no innocent civilians were injured. Genos was also mostly unharmed. Not only did Saitama shield him from some of the impact, but even without Saitama, such an aftershock would not have been enough to destroy Genos's core. Genos, lying on the ground, unable to move, looked at Vaccine Man floating in the air with utter shock. Although the other party wore human clothes and had a somewhat human-like appearance, he looked like a monster no matter how you saw it. A monster attacking its own kind? And he instantly killed Mosquito Girl with one move. At this moment, Vaccine Man also looked at Genos on the ground. He realized that he could feel hostility towards Genos, indicating that the other party, like that strange mosquito just now, was not human, so still very angry. He wanted to throw another light ball to vent his frustration. Vaccine Man ignored Saitama beside him. He definitely couldn't touch this bald man. He condensed a light ball in his hand, preparing to stick it to Genos's face as well. Damn it. Sure enough, this guy was also a monster. Seeing Vaccine Man about to attack him, Genos instinctively tried to struggle, but couldn't get up because his legs had been severed by Mosquito Girl. Was he going to self-destruct after all? I'm sorry, Dr. Genos initiated the self-destruct sequence for the second time. However, the next moment, Bai Ye arrived beside Vaccine Man using the Flying Thunder God technique and gave Vaccine Man a big slap on the head. Slap! This slap not only stunned Vaccine Man, but also left Genos bewildered. Vaccine Man turned his head to look at Bai Ye with a bewildered expression. His eyes filled with shock, confusion, anger, and grievance. Didn't I tell you not to harm the innocent? What were you trying to do just now? Bai Ye lectured Vaccine Man, but this guy isn't human. Vaccine Man immediately retorted, feeling wronged. Cyborgs are also human. Remember that next time, Bai Ye said. Yes, at this moment, Vaccine Man could only nod submissively. You're really strict, but was it really going to attack this person just now? Saitama asked innocently. Because he knew Vaccine Man, he instinctively thought Vaccine Man was just playing around until he heard Bai Ye lecturing him and understood the situation. Yes, that's why I had to teach it a lesson, Bai Ye nodded. Then his gaze turned to Genos on the ground. Are you alright? I'm really sorry, that guy was out of control just now. Genos finally recovered from his astonishment and hurriedly said, My name is Genos. I am a cyborg who independently executes justice. He had already understood that the strange person who had defeated Mosquito Girl with one move, whether human or monster, must be the disciple of the blood-eyed young man before him. So he had to seize this opportunity. One Punch Man, Double Godly Start Chapter 032. Please, I must know your name. Genos then requested of Byakuya. Byakuya immediately looked confused, pointing at himself. Then he pulled Saitama in front of him, letting Saitama respond to Genos' request. This scene clearly showed that Genos wanted to become a disciple, but Byakuya felt that the master Genos should be looking for was Saitama. What's going on? Saitama, who was pushed forward by Byakuya, was a little bewildered. No, I want to ask the one with the blood-red eyes. Genos immediately corrected him. Hear that? He's talking to you. Saitama turned his head to Byakuya behind him and said, My name is Byakuya. At this point, Byakuya could only answer, Master Byakuya, please accept me as your disciple. Genos said excitedly. Me? Byakuya pointed at himself, asking involuntarily. This isn't right. Shouldn't Genos be asking Saitama to be his master? He pondered that he hadn't shown any strength just now, deliberately leaving Mosquito Girl for Vaccine Man to deal with. This way, afterwards, Genos would either ask Saitama or Vaccine Man to be his master, but definitely not him. It wasn't that he disliked Genos, but he simply had nothing to teach. System points, Twin Kamui, Flying Thunder God technique, no matter which one, Genos couldn't possibly learn them. So he was completely unsuitable to be anyone's master. But what Byakuya didn't expect was that even after considering it to this extent, he was still targeted by Genos. Could it be because of that slap he gave Vaccine Man just now? That's right. Please accept me as your disciple. Genos repeated seriously. Let's not talk about that for now. You should go get yourself properly repaired first. Byakuya immediately changed the subject. Under Mosquito Girl's torment, Genos barely had any intact parts on his body. Even one of his eyeballs had flown out, though it was a mechanical eye. As long as the most important core wasn't destroyed, Genos could be continuously repaired and modified by Dr. Casino. I'm fine. Please accept me as your disciple first. However, Genos didn't fall for the topic change at all. Saitama, I'll leave the rest to you. I have something to do and will be leaving. With no other choice, Byakuya could only dump Genos on Saitama. In his opinion, Saitama was Genos' most suitable teacher. Wait. Saitama realized something was wrong and tried to call out to Byakuya, but saw that Byakuya had already disappeared with Vaccine Man Master. Genos immediately looked around but couldn't find Byakuya's figure. He instantly became even more certain. The other party was indeed the master of that powerful monster, and his speed was so fast that he couldn't even detect the direction he left in. May I ask if you need me to take you to the hospital? You're Genos, right? At this moment, Saitama scratched his face and asked Genos. No. Thank you for your concern. The doctor will come pick me up. Genos replied. At the same time, he also observed the bald man in front of him. Looking back, this bald man also seemed quite extraordinary. At that time, he had released an incineration bomb that could affect a 500-meter radius, and this bald man was right beside him. Yet he was completely unharmed. Only his clothes were burned off. Moreover, this bald man seemed to know the blood-eyed youth named Byakuya. Could he also be a disciple of Master Byakuya? At this moment, Byakuya would never have thought that Genos could guess Saitama was his disciple. How could he possibly have Saitama as a disciple? That's good, then I'll head back first. Saitama casually bid farewell to Genos and quickly slipped away, because he felt that this person seemed like trouble. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited area, so even if Saitama's clothes were gone, no one would see him. But it was a pity that his t-shirt with the English word Hage on it which is the phonetic transcription of meaning bald, was gone. Saitama either didn't know the meaning of the word or specifically bought it to wear and mock himself after Saitama ran off. Genos realized what he had overlooked. Damn it, I should have asked where Master Baikuya lives first. Never mind, this seems to be the uninhabited zone of Z City. I heard that almost no one is willing to live in such a place. If I ask around, I should be able to find out how many households are in the uninhabited zone. Subsequently, Genos immediately contacted Dr. Casino, asking the doctor to pick him up as he was currently unable to move. Baikuya and Vaccine Man had already returned home when they disappeared. Was that guy trying to become your disciple just now? Why didn't you agree? At this moment, Vaccine Man asked, "You're asking me that? Why don't you become his master then?" Baikuya rolled his eyes. "No thanks." Vaccine Man decisively refused. It already had a strong prejudice against humans, so how could it be willing to accept a human as a disciple? I hope he doesn't come looking for me, though that's almost impossible. Baikuya sighed slightly. He knew it. Genos would definitely be able to find his home. Not to mention that in an uninhabited area like this, a little asking around would reveal how many living people resided there. Genos also had a sensing device on him that could detect life signs within a certain range. Sure enough, a few days later, an uninvited guest arrived at Baikuya's doorstep. Master Baikuya, still shouting Baikuya's name from outside the door. It's that cyborg from before, isn't it? Should we open the door for him? Saitama, who was playing a video game PK with Vaccine Man, immediately asked. No choice, Baikuya couldn't keep Genos locked out forever, so he could only go and open the door for him. I'm telling you, Baikuya said somewhat helplessly, I feel like you've misunderstood something. My strength is just average, and I can't teach you anything. Master Baikuya, I have come to seek your tutelage, Genos said earnestly. So, I said I can't teach you anything. Baikuya was very helpless. Since you've come all this way, come in and have some tea, then you can go back. Out of politeness, he couldn't just directly kick Genos out. Genos didn't respond, clearly not planning to leave after drinking tea. As soon as he stepped inside, Genos saw Saitama and Vaccine Man playing games in front of the TV. He once again confirmed his suspicion. Sure enough, this unfathomably strong bald man and that human-like monster were both disciples of Master Baikuya. If he could also become Master Baikuya's disciple, he would become even stronger and gain the power to crush all evil. Post views for One Punch Man. Double Godly start Chapter 033. While Saitama and Vaccine Man were busy with their PK, Baikuya brewed tea to entertain Genos. Thank you. Genos nodded in thanks, but did not touch the teacup on the table. As a cyborg, he could no longer eat normally. Let me state this beforehand. I neither have the ability to take on disciples, nor do I have any intention of doing so. Baikuya wanted to make things clear to Genos directly. How can that be? Teacher, don't you already have 2 disciples? And they are both so powerful. Genos was unwilling to believe this. 2 disciples? Baikuya was instantly dumbfounded. He didn't even know when he had taken on 2 disciples. Wait, 2 could it be that Genos was referring to Saitama and Vaccine Man? Vaccine Man aside, what the hell was Saitama? Who would dare to even think of making Saitama his disciple? That's right, those 2 over there. Please let me confirm first. Who is the senior disciple and who is the second disciple? It will be easier for me to address them later. Genos raised his hand and pointed at Saitama and Vaccine Man, who were playing games. Huh? Did you just mention me? Saitama immediately turned his head to look. As a result, in that brief moment of distraction, Vaccine Man took the opportunity to land a combo on Saitama. Ha ha, I won. Vaccine Man burst into laughter. I was ambushed. Saitama came back to his senses, but it was too late to turn the tide, as he couldn't move once caught in a combo. His health was already low, and this combo directly eliminated the character Saitama was controlling. Sorry, I think I disturbed you. Although Genos didn't quite understand the game, seeing Saitama's defeat and annoyed expression, he realized that he might have caused trouble. It's fine. I was just careless myself. No sooner had he finished speaking than Saitama turned his head and complained to Vaccine Man. How could you ambush me? You're so despicable. So what? Anyway, I won. Vakina smilet zinisteri. While Saitama and Vaccine Man were bickering, Byakuya quickly explained to Genos. Genos, your misunderstanding is too deep. Neither of those two are my disciples, especially the bald one. But? Isn't that just the skin-colored armor on his head? Genos immediately looked at Saitama's bald head with surprise. No, that's his skin, not skin-colored armor. Byakuya explained. What? So that's not head armor? Genos pondered seriously. If that's true, I didn't expect there would be someone who goes bald so young. Hey, I can hear what you're saying. Saitama, sitting over there, instantly had a vein bulging on his forehead. Sorry. Byakuya then whispered to Genos. Mr. Saitama is quite sensitive to the word bald, so please try to be careful. Understood, Teacher Byakuya. Genos nodded obediently. Wait, please don't call me teacher. Byakuya immediately raised his hand and pointed at Saitama. Mr. Saitama is much stronger than me. You can call him Teacher Saitama and apprentice yourself to him. Hearing this, Saitama's body trembled. Is that so? But I believe that once I've decided on Teacher Byakuya, I shouldn't waver. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have the most basic sincerity and no teacher would be willing to accept me. Genos completely ignored this suggestion. That bald man, no, Mr. Saitama, was indeed powerful, but in his eyes, Teacher Byakuya was also at a height that made him feel unattainable. Either one could greatly benefit him, so he should be devoted enough to show sincerity. If he kept switching between potential teachers, he would only end up with nothing. Byakuya was a little exasperated. That's right. Such a sincere child. Byakuya, you should quickly take him in. At this moment, Saitama added fuel to the fire for Byakuya. He felt that taking on a disciple was too troublesome, and he wished Genos would stick with Byakuya and not bother him. Mr. Saitama has agreed. Please accept me, Teacher Byakuya. Genos once again solemnly asked Byakuya to take him as a disciple. Saitama agreeing doesn't mean I agree. Byakuya really wanted to retort, and that Saitama, he actually added fuel to the fire, however. It was true that he had used Saitama as a shield first, so he couldn't say anything bad about Saitama, but I've said it more than once, I really can't teach you anything. Byakuya was very helpless at this moment. If he had nothing to teach, and the other person became unhappy, they might even turn around and blame him. Being a master wasn't that easy. Although Genos was highly unlikely to do something like blame him, Master is joking. You clearly taught such an excellent monster. Unsure, Genos even looked at Vaccine Man and asked again, he's a monster, right? Are you talking about me? In your human definition, I do seem to be that so-called monster, but I am actually Vaccine Man, born from the will of the earth, an apostle of the earth. Vaccine Man seriously explained his identity. However, Byakuya and Genos were no longer paying attention to what it was saying. I just said it's not my disciple. Byakuya emphasized again. Is that so? But I still hope Teacher Byakuya can take me as a disciple. I believe I will gain a lot by following Teacher Byakuya. No matter what Byakuya said, Genos just wouldn't give up. Byakuya was completely defeated. He could only compromise. Then follow me if you want, but remember, I am not your master, and I have no obligation to teach you anything. It's not that I don't want to teach, but I really can't teach you anything. Just make sure you understand that. However, Genos didn't hesitate at all and immediately nodded. I have already considered it clearly. You forget it. Have it your way. Byakuya felt tired for a moment. Ding. The host has gained a disciple, Genos, and received rewards. 50 points plus growth incentive. Growth incentive. As the disciple's ranking in the Hero Association increases, the host will also receive corresponding rewards. Alright, that's not bad. The rewards given by the system brought Byakuya some comfort. But he clearly said he wouldn't be a master, so it seemed Genos still insisted on considering him a master of his heart. In any case, he had already told Genos that he couldn't teach him anything, so it would be pure free-range parenting. This way, he would essentially be getting free system rewards, as Genos' rise in the Hero Association didn't require him to actively help in any way. On the other side, Saitama breathed a sigh of relief. That seemingly troublesome guy was finally clinging to Byakuya. One Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 034. So, Byakuya-sensei, would you like to hear my story next? Genos asked. All right, but please keep it short. Byakuya emphasized the words keep it short, because if he didn't stress it, Genos would definitely launch into a super long short story spanning thousands of words. Not to mention Saitama, even he couldn't stand it. In short, before Genos became a cyborg, he suffered a disaster. His family was killed by a rampaging, out-of-control cyborg. Only he miraculously survived and met Dr. Casino. Because he was too weak, he asked the doctor to modify his body, vowing to eliminate the out-of-control cyborg and crush all evil in the world. Just as Genos was about to begin his recitation, Byakuya interrupted him, and he could only rephrase his words. I want to crush all evil, so I want to become as strong as Byakuya-sensei. Genos' words were concise enough this time. That's a great ideal. As for wanting to become like me, I can only say, keep up the good work. Byakuya could only cheer Genos on. I will work hard. Genos nodded solemnly. First, speaking of which, have you registered in the hero registry yet? Byakuya asked. Not yet. Genos shook his head. Does that mean Byakuya-sensei has already registered in the hero registry? You must be an S-class hero, right? No, I'm just a B-class hero. Byakuya corrected him. What's going on? Genos was immediately surprised. Nothing's going on. I'm just a B-class hero. However, Saitama-san is already ranked 10th in S-class. Byakuya said expressionlessly. Feeling incredulous, Genos immediately picked up his phone and opened the Hero Association's official website, searching through the rankings. Sure enough, he saw Saitama at S-class rank 10. But what caught his attention was that Byakuya-sensei truly wasn't on the S-class list. He then scrolled down, but couldn't find Byakuya-sensei on the A-class list either. Continuing further down finally, at B-class rank 9, he saw Byakuya-sensei with the hero alias Kamui. There was a picture of Byakuya, so he recognized him. There must be some mistake. With Byakuya-sensei's abilities, it's impossible for him to only be B-class. Genos couldn't help but say, if Byakuya-sensei has suffered any unfair treatment, I can go to the Hero Association and demand justice for him. There's no such thing. It's my own issue, and it's just a trivial matter not worth mentioning. Byakuya shook his head. All right, Genos could only comply with Byakuya-sensei's wishes. Then I'll go register in the Hero Registry as well. Genos stood up, ready to depart. He wasn't particularly interested in the Hero Association to begin with, always preferring to carry out justice alone. But after learning that Byakuya-sensei was also in the Hero Association, he felt it was necessary to go. That day, Genos went to the Hero Certification Exam venue in Z-City and participated in the exam. He naturally scored full marks on both the written and physical tests, smoothly becoming another S-class newcomer after Saitama. He was ranked 18th in S-class. Ding! Host Disciple Genos has become S-class rank 18. Growth reward obtained, 20 points. At the same time, Byakuya also received a system reward. It seemed that every time Genos' ranking improved, he would gain points. For example, moving from 18th to 17th would also yield a reward. After finishing the lecture, Genos returned. Byakuya-sensei, I have registered in the Hero Registry. Genos sat upright across from Byakuya. With your ability, you must have become S-class, right? Byakuya said. Yes, Genos nodded slightly. At the same time, he felt increasingly puzzled. This hero certification exam was clearly so simple. So why didn't Byakuya-sensei directly become an S-class hero like him? He felt that there might be some very significant factors involved. Perhaps the Hero Association wasn't as just as people imagined, since Byakuya-sensei had been unwilling to say more before. Genos didn't voice his doubts at this time, merely keeping an eye on the Hero Association. That's good. You want to follow me, right? Now it'll be convenient for you to fight alongside us. Byakuya subtly masked his own little thoughts. After all, he couldn't teach Genos any real skills, nor would he demand Genos to strive for higher rankings. Since he was going to let him develop freely, he would carry that through to the end and not casually interfere with Genos's development direction. Indeed, it was definitely the right decision for me to join the Hero Association. Genos nodded. The House of Evolution was located deep within a remote mountain forest. A tall building stood there, but this was actually a fake base. The true House of Evolution was located in the underground laboratory directly beneath it. The so-called House of Evolution was established by a scientist named Dr. Genus. In his youth, he displayed extraordinary intelligence and made many contributions to the world, but he grew disappointed with this world because no matter how much people praised his genius mind, no one accepted his ideals. He wanted to achieve human evolution through artificial means, believing that humanity's current capabilities were too low. To him, all humans other than himself were foolish animals. So as early as age 15, he had formulated a plan to transform humanity and this world into his desired form. In his 70s, nearing death from old age, he accelerated his plan, not only rejuvenating himself, but also creating a multitude of his own clones. Then, together with his clones, he conducted numerous animal experiments, even going so far as to use humans as test subjects. Mosquito Girl was created through such modifications. Naming this place the House of Evolution stemmed precisely from Dr. Genus's dream of achieving human evolution. Mosquito Girl was actually defeated? It doesn't matter. She was merely an experimental subject. Without absorbing blood, she's just a fragile insect. No Mosquito Girl was actually defeated while evolving after absorbing a large amount of blood. She was even defeated quite badly, what? In the laboratory, various incomplete or complete humans were preserved in cultivation tanks. Dr. Genus was conversing with his clones. These are some of the recorded images. Please take a look. A clone projected the video onto a large screen. On the screen, the scene of Mosquito Girl's defeat was replayed. That guy's a monster? Mosquito Girl was actually defeated by a monster. Seeing Mosquito Girl being blasted in the face by Vaccine Man's energy sphere, Dr. Genus immediately lost interest. After all, this kind of monster was not the new human he desired, created through artificial modification. The footage isn't over yet. Please watch until the end. The clone reminded him. Immediately afterward, Dr. Genus saw Bai Ye suddenly appear out of thin air and knock out Vaccine Man with a single slap. And Vaccine Man was submissive and offered no resistance. That monster, he actually didn't dare to resist him. Dr. Genus's lips curled into a smile, and his speed, completely imperceptible to the naked eye, is enough to show that his body is also very strong. He should be a good sample. I want to investigate his body, One Punch Man, Double Godly Star Chapter 035. Also, that bald pervert next to him who isn't wearing clothes is worth noting. Although I don't know why he isn't wearing clothes, his physique gives off an extraordinary feeling. Although Saitama didn't display his strength, and there was no footage in the video of him being unharmed by Genos's wide-range attacks, he still caught the attention of the clones. It's a simple matter. Just invite him over to investigate his body. Dr. Genus said indifferently, send envoys to invite them. Especially that guy who looks like he has pink eye, even if we have to use force. Bring him back, all right. The clone nodded, then withdrew. After Genos passed the exam and became an S-class hero, although he hadn't yet performed any heroic activities, his reputation had already spread. Even fan clubs for Genos and Saitama had begun to form. After all, S-class newcomers are quite rare. It's just that there have been a few recently. First Saitama, and then Genos appeared a few days later. Moreover, both are very similar. They never accept media interviews, and it's even difficult to capture footage of them. However, Genos's popularity is higher because, in the eyes of the public, Genos is more aloof and handsome. Saitama, being bald, isn't as popular, but Saitama himself doesn't care about such things. Today, the Blizzard Group also began to act. Their tolerance for Bai Ye had reached its limit. He still hadn't come to greet Fubuki, and such a rule-breaking upstart naturally needed a good humbling. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to maintain stable rule in B-class in the future. Fubuki led 2 members of the Blizzard Group to the border of the uninhabited zone. Today, Fubuki was still wearing a dark green long dress, a fur coat, and her favorite high heels. Prepare to enter the target's hiding place. If the opponent shows even a hint of resistance, you all know what to do, right? Fubuki's expression was cold. We know. Make him remember his place and never dare to disrespect Miss Fubuki again. The two who accompanied Fubuki were B-Class Rank 2, Eyelashes, and B-Class Rank 3, Mountain Ape. Eyelashes was a man with slightly long hair tied in a braid. His facial features, as his hero name suggested, had peculiar eyelashes. Mountain Ape was tall and burly, with a chin shaped somewhat like a butt, and fists larger than a normal person's head. Mountain Ape directly used brute force to tear off the lock on the barbed wire gate, and then the three entered the uninhabited zone. About 10 minutes later, Bai Ye was sitting in the living room. Vaccine Man was playing games with Saitama. Genos hadn't moved to the uninhabited zone yet, so he wasn't always at Bai Ye's house. Just then, a sound suddenly came from outside the door. B-Class Rank 9 Bai Ye. We know you live here. Eyelashes shouted loudly in front of Bai Ye's house. Come out. B-Class Rank 1 Miss Hellish Blizzard has something to say to you. Bai Ye immediately realized that Fubuki had brought people to his door, but their attitude was truly terrible. They could at least knock on the door first. This was clearly disturbing the peace, Bai Ye inwardly complained, then got up to open the door. Hello, would you like to come in for some tea? Bai Ye greeted with a smile. No need. Our Miss Fubuki is here to see you on serious business, not for tea. Eyelashes said directly. Eyelashes and Mountain Ape's expressions didn't look friendly. They appeared aggressive. Fubuki was slightly better, but not by much. She crossed her arms over her chest, her expression somewhat arrogant. Nice to meet you, newcomer Mr. Bai Ye. I am Hellish Blizzard. You must have heard of this name, right? Deliberately adding newcomer before Bai Ye's name, coupled with her cold and arrogant tone, already showed she was speaking to Bai Ye from a position of superiority. Yes, I have. Sounds very impressive. And then what? Bai Ye responded with a polite smile. The atmosphere instantly froze. Fubuki, Eyelashes, and Mountain Ape all seemed to be stiff. This guy, he's truly arrogant, perhaps in their eyes. When the other party clearly knew the visitor was Fubuki, not showing active apologies and flattery was already an act of arrogant disrespect towards Fubuki. Miss Fubuki is a big shot, B-Class Rank 1. Haven't you reacted yet? Eyelashes' reminder carried a warning, implying that if Bai Ye continued to be so arrogant, they wouldn't be polite. So I said, I know. Does that mean I also need to say things like Miss Fubuki is so amazing? Bai Ye asked, puzzled. In Japan, there is indeed a very strict hierarchy. Being respectful to seniors like Fubuki in the Hero Association is considered normal in Japanese eyes. The One Punch Man worldview is, after all, highly integrated with Japanese society. Even the currency is the Japanese yen. But Bai Ye was a Chinese person. He did as he pleased. Saitama was the same. He didn't like such troublesome hierarchies. That's about the meaning, but you're too perfunctory. Eyelashes was still not satisfied. He continued unhappily, and you don't seem to take us seriously. How can a mere newcomer be so arrogant? Don't you know that the first thing a newly promoted B-Class hero should do is greet Miss Fubuki? Oh, that minor issue. I can greet you now. Bai Ye said expressionlessly. Hello, my name is Bai Ye. Please take care of me. Now, Eyelashes was even more displeased. He felt this guy had no sincerity at all. Forget it. At this moment, Fubuki spoke, interrupting Eyelashes, who was about to act. You haven't been a professional hero for long, and you're still a newcomer, so it's understandable that you don't understand all the rules. But if you keep going like this, you won't have a future. Fubuki said slowly. That doesn't matter. I'll just slack off. Bai Ye said casually. Eyelashes and Mountain Ape were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had seen a newcomer dare to be so arrogant in front of Miss Fubuki. Even Fubuki was silenced, but she felt that his so-called slacking off was nonsense. No one could resist the temptation of becoming a superior. A moment later, she said again, you're thinking of slacking off now only because you face too many obstacles. Join my organization, and I can easily make you a high-ranking B-Class hero. Sounds interesting, but I refuse. Bai Ye refused without hesitation. Post views. 3 One Punch Man. Double Godly Start Chapter 036 Ding. The host has rejected Fubuki's invitation and received a reward, 10 points. At this, Fubuki completely lost her patience. Eyelashes. Mountain Ape. Teach him a harsh lesson. Make him unable to pursue hero activities ever again. Fubuki stopped wasting words with Byakuya and directly ordered her subordinates to act. Yes, Eyelashes and Mountain Ape had long been annoyed with Byakuya and immediately charged towards him. Mountain Ape's attack method was a fist bigger than his head, while Eyelashes used a pair of eyelash curlers. Of course, Eyelash's eyelash curler could actually transform into a weapon. It wasn't merely for curling eyelashes. Byakuya was helpless. He felt his attitude had been good enough, yet they still wanted to fight at the slightest disagreement. But there was no harm in it. Defeating 2 B-class heroes ranked 2nd and 3rd would earn him points. Byakuya remained rooted to the spot, watching the incoming fist and eyelash curler without changing his expression. The next moment, the fist and eyelash curler passed straight through his face. Eyelashes and Mountain Ape thought they had hit their target, but to their horror, they found that the opponent was untouchable like a ghost. The instant they passed through Byakuya's body, Byakuya grabbed the back of their clothes, swung them forcefully, and threw them out of the building. After all, he now possessed over 20 times the physical strength of an ordinary person, augmented by Hashirama Cells. Tossing people weighing dozens or even hundreds of kilograms around like toys was effortless. Fubuki's face instantly showed surprise. She hadn't expected Eyelashes and Mountain Ape to be instantly defeated so easily by this new B-class hero ranked 9th. You made the first move, so don't blame me for being impolite. Byakuya said calmly. You're going to hinder me too, aren't you? However, Fubuki's expression turned cold instead. A question mark immediately appeared above Byakuya's head. Who exactly was hindering whom? From beginning to end, it was the Fubuki group that had come looking for trouble with him following that Fubuki's psychic powers began to activate. As a psychic, Fubuki wielded powerful psychokinesis. The scene of manipulated gale force winds was like a hellish landscape. This was the origin of her hero alias, Hellish Blizzard. In an instant, the airflow within a 100-meter radius was controlled by Fubuki. The airflow picked up countless stones, converging into a storm centered around Fubuki. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's best to keep the commotion to a minimum. Byakuya watched the flying debris with a calm expression. Normally, Saitama should be playing video games with Vaccine Man right now. If the commotion was too loud, it would disturb them next door. However, Fubuki wouldn't heed Byakuya's warning. Not only did she not restrain herself, but she also increased her power. By the way, this ability of yours is useless against me. Don't waste your energy. Byakuya offered a friendly reminder. He was quite considerate, but to Fubuki's ears, these words were mockery. Are you looking down on me? You'll regret this. Having brought the storm to its peak, Fubuki unleashed it. Don't worry, I'll leave you with one breath. Hellish Storm. Another translation, Hellish Blizzard. As this voice fell, the storm immediately surged towards Byakuya. The storm instantly rushed out of the hallway. Fubuki subconsciously assumed Byakuya had been blown away, so she unleashed a further killing blow, continuously compressing the gale and debris. This way, Byakuya, caught within it, would also be continuously compressed, with countless debris giving him no room to breathe. Tearing flesh and crushing bones, it was a cruel move that could make a person instantly submit. Unless the opponent was disobedient, Fubuki wouldn't want to use this move. The position of B-class number 1 was very important to her. If the opponent refused to obey, it meant they wanted to surpass her. This was something she absolutely could not tolerate. She would show no mercy to anyone who threatened her status. Have you caused enough trouble? This childish game ends here. Just then, Byakuya suddenly appeared behind Fubuki. Not only was he completely unharmed, even his clothes were intact. With both Kamui and Flying Thunder God technique, it was impossible for him to be hit by the so-called Hellish Blizzard. In Byakuya's eyes, Fubuki's actions and motives were no different from a childish game. Hearing Byakuya's voice from behind, Fubuki was instantly startled. She spun around sharply to see him already incredibly close. So close. Fubuki quickly tried to retreat, but at that moment, Byakuya's right eye Kamui had already activated. With Fubuki's weak physical constitution, she couldn't possibly dodge Kamui's pull. However, just as Byakuya was about to make Fubuki reflect on her mistakes in the Kamui dimension, an uninvited guest suddenly descended from the sky. Did they have to come at a time like this? Byakuya had already sensed the uninvited guest. He had thought that the House of Evolution would most likely send monsters to trouble him, but it was just his luck that they decided to show up at this exact moment. No choice, he could only toss Fubuki aside and deal with the House of Evolution. S-monster first. Seeing the other party suddenly stop, Fubuki was still completely unaware of what was happening. The next moment, a humanoid praying mantis descended from the sky, landing at Byakuya and Fubuki's location. Fubuki, nearly hit, was startled and sat down on the ground. Ding! The host has redeemed Rasengan, deducting points 50. Current remaining points, 370. Ding! The host has redeemed Constitution 260, deducting points 260. Current remaining points, 110. Ding! The host has redeemed Hashirama Cells 11, deducting points 110. Current remaining points, 0. Byakuya seized this opportunity to allocate some points. He generally only added points when he needed a fight. Constitution plus 260, Hashirama Cells plus 11, Constitution 478, Hashirama Cells 20. At this moment, the system's notification sound, which should have ended, continued. Ding! The host Hashirama Cells have reached 20, unlocking reward. Would release. Would clone. Byakuya immediately felt delighted. As expected, reaching a certain level of Hashirama Cells unlocked corresponding would release ninjutsu. Cough, cough, cough. My name is. Meanwhile, the humanoid praying mantis had just opened its mouth upon landing when Byakuya casually beheaded it with a slash from his red knight blade. Ding! The host has defeated tiger-level monster Mantis Curie, receiving a reward, 20 points. The 20-point reward indicated that this mantis monster was relatively strong among tiger-level monsters, but it was facing Byakuya. Mantis Curie's voice abruptly ceased. This is a monster. Fubuki appeared somewhat disheveled at this point, sitting on the ground in a duck-sit posture. Post views for One Punch Man. Double Godly Star Chapter 037. It's not over yet. Byakuya ignored Fubuki, his gaze fixed in a certain direction. Fubuki was about to say something when an explosion interrupted her. Boom! A passage was instantly blown open in the house behind them. As the smoke dissipated, a massive, fully armored steel gorilla appeared before their eyes. The series of sudden events made Fubuki momentarily forget to get up from the ground. She turned her head and realized that Byakuya had disappeared at some point. This was actually because Byakuya had just been attacked by Mole Dragon, who tried to grab his feet from underground and drag him down. He went down with the flow to deal with Mole Dragon. Mole Dragon was actually a monster resembling a mole. Ding! Host has defeated tiger-level monster Mole Dragon and received reward, 20 points. Ding! Host has defeated tiger-level monster Toadman and received reward, 10 points. Ding! Host has defeated tiger-level monster Slugman and received reward, 10 points. Besides Mole Dragon, Byakuya also took care of the nearby Toadman and Slugman. These were all monsters sent by the House of Evolution. But at the same time, Fubuki on the ground panicked. She thought Byakuya had abandoned her, leaving her alone to face the menacing steel gorilla. At this moment, Fubuki could only stand up and try to deal with the monster in front of her. Having just unleashed 2 killing moves on Byakuya, Fubuki was not in good shape, but she could only brace herself and use her psychic powers again. Target, not you. Get out of the way. But the steel gorilla didn't give Fubuki a chance to move, charging directly at her. Fubuki hastily used her psychic powers to block the steel gorilla's charge. However, she was already in poor condition, and steel gorilla was a demon-level threat. The earthen wall she hastily created with psychokinesis couldn't withstand the steel gorilla's brute force. Kuga! Fubuki was instantly sent flying. However, the earthen wall had absorbed most of the force, so she was only knocked back and not seriously injured. Thump, thump, thump. Just then, Fubuki heard a series of heavy footsteps and felt the ground tremble. She turned her head and saw a giant humanoid lion, appearing even larger than the steel gorilla, with massive muscles all over its body and sharp claws on its hands. Fubuki gradually despaired. Another monster, even stronger than the steel gorilla, had appeared. Was this the legendary uninhabited zone? How could there be so many powerful monsters? Why is it a woman? Where's our target? Looking at Fubuki on the ground, Beast King asked in confusion. Just now, Mole Dragon should have caught the target, but I don't know where it went. The steel gorilla explained. Could that guy have run back by himself? Wanted to take all the credit? Beast King immediately suspected. The steel gorilla and Beast King conversed in front of Fubuki, who was drenched in cold sweat. She had nowhere to escape. I say, are you two looking for me? At this moment, Byakuya suddenly appeared out of thin air in front of Fubuki. Found him. The target appeared himself. Beast King immediately recognized the blood-eyed youth as the target Dr. Genus wanted. It's quite dangerous here. You should hide for now. Byakuya told Fubuki, then directly sucked her into the Kamui dimension. Although he could have used a princess carry in such a situation, he wasn't in the mood to carry Fubuki while fighting Beast King and Steel Gorilla this way. Fubuki would be absolutely safe. Byakuya could not only focus on dealing with Beast King and Steel Gorilla, but also let Fubuki reflect on her actions in the Kamui dimension. While this would make it inconvenient for him to use his holofication ability, dealing with two demon-level monsters was far from forcing him to use holofication to save his life. A hero saving the beauty? How ridiculous! Being left alone will only lead to more despair. Beast King scoffed, his aura rising and his mane bristling. Let me show you the power of Beast King. Lion Slash. Beast King's right hand instantly revealed sharp claws, striking at Byakuya. 5 sharp claws unleashed 5 streaks of light, cutting the buildings in front into pieces. However, Byakuya easily dodged with his perception and reaction speed. Oh ho ho ho. Beast King roared, wildly slashing. The steel gorilla consciously hid to the side. With Beast King present, there was no need for him to act, and getting too close might result in accidental injury. After a while, Beast King, who couldn't hit Byakuya, became enraged. You can't escape. I'm going to kill you. This is survival of the fittest. Ha ha. Beast King entered a berserk state, his muscles instantly tearing through his coat and the chains that restricted his power. Lion Slash Meteor Shower. Beast King directly leaped into the air, launching an omnidirectional, ultra-high-frequency continuous claw attack at Byakuya. Beast King, we were supposed to capture him alive, the steel gorilla quickly reminded him. But Beast King was already in a frenzy, and he didn't dare to speak too loudly. However, this time Byakuya didn't intend to dodge Susanoo. A pale blue skeletal rib cage instantly appeared, enveloping Byakuya. However, this was just the initial stage of Susanoo. With Byakuya's will, Susanoo continued to evolve. From the skeletal rib cage, it rapidly grew into a skull-like upper body, then to a body covered in meridians and flesh. Enveloped by a layer of Susanoo armor, the original essence of Susanoo was the materialization of chakra, the third power of the Mangekyō Sharingan, also known as the power of gods. Evidently, Byakuya's Susanoo was also modified by the system to be the materialization of spiritual energy. Now, he not only had over 400 points in physique, but also a certain degree of Hashirama cells, so activating Susanoo was naturally not a problem. In a blink of an eye, Byakuya's Susanoo settled into its second stage, a half-body Susanoo with flesh and a spiritual energy cloak, reaching a height of 20 to 30 meters. It held 2 giant katanas in its hands, which were Susanoo's inherent weapons. The second stage was Susanoo's most balanced stage. It could use weapons, had excellent offense and defense, and didn't consume too much of his own energy. What? Beast King or
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.